Good morning, everybody. Um, I didn't get on last night. I was watching all of the subjects of my study into there we go, into the podcasters online. As I've said I started the Deep State series and the Mommy Wars, focusing on the feminists, the anti-feminists, and socialites. I mean, since the United States doesn't have a queen and a fixed aristocracy that's by lineage of birth, then the ruling elite becomes, the wealthy. And that does pose a problem, although the way that the European royals are behaving um, is not much better. So they are just following that lifestyle. That is what the American Revolution was fought supposedly to fight against and to install a new form of government. But no, here we are, and the founding fathers were afraid of this. And here is your aristocracy. Now, uh, with the podcasters over here, you've got, your old guard, the model, if you will, that everybody's following. Jackie Kennedy over here, Ethel Kennedy over there with her fraudulent Robert F. Kennedy human rights, which is now, I should have put the LGBT in there. It's now an LGBT rights run by Kerry. And that's part of the reason that Bobby Kennedy didn't win by a landslide, was because the way that his sister and cousin and the rest of the family were just consumed with jealousy. Because I mean, his this whole thing about it not being aligned, being against everything that RFK and JFK stood for, is ludicrous. Lie, complete lie. Um, so anyway, I mean, and everybody in this town or in this country had a brain, they would have realized that. But the whole country, I mean, my younger sister, celebrity chef to the stars in Telluride, Colorado, she was like, "Oh yeah, this country's like a piece of shit now." I'm like, "Yeah, and under whose watch?" I mean, I've been back for 20 years and warning everybody, and shut up, stupid, shut up, stupid. Anyway, if I could, make an example, if I could find a freaking lawyer, still haven't given up that Baron Coleman might respond to my email, come down from his ivory tower. I mean, see, this is the problem. These guys, they get into, they become rich and famous. Okay, these guys are in the process. This is definitely, Baron Coleman is just starting out. But, with all that fame and wealth comes responsibility. And I mean, we think of socialites as women, but the princes, and all the lords and dukes, they're as much socialites and setting the example. I mean, that's what their job is to set the example for the rest of society. And not like Valley of the Dolls. There we got. Or this fascist conservative, let me get my water, conservatism that people like Megyn Kelly. Now she is taking a stand on the Israel thing. She's Irish Catholic. I mean, come on. Uh, Although, I mean, so are the Kennedys. But Yeah, I mean, that was just pure jealousy. That was, and one of the big reasons that the uh, Democratic Party is in the state that it is because the Kennedys have just been run by gold digging Ethel and gold digging Jackie O, um, ever since their husbands were shot. And they're basically reacting how Erica Kirk is acting. That's why it's like, did she know? Was she involved, or is she just like, oh, I'm getting all of this money and all of this, I'm going to be the CEO. Oh, okay. What time does the plane leave? You know, uh, and I mean, Ethel, it took her 6 months and she had her RFK human rights started. So anyway, this whole thing about the trad wife, I mean, these girls are just, Phyllis Schlafly, conservative, hypocrites. And I guess it kind of also explains why both Phyllis Schlafly's nonprofit that was started by her and run by her kids now, that I forget when Ed Martin, he started the new Phyllis Schlafly one. It's the Eagle Forum. Uh, and that was over Trump. He's a Trump loyalist and they don't like Trump. But, I'm like, I'm like, well, wait a second. My research has shown that Phyllis Schlafly was actually right about a lot of things. I mean, I even posted this on the internet. I was like, wow, Rob Reiner. Um, I mean, he was all in the family with Archie Bunker. I mean, Archie Bunker was your like atypical racist, male chauvinist pig, you name it. But actually, what killed Rob Reiner is the kind of parenting and kind of behavior, the wacko hippies and stuff, um, that commies, oops, that that what you call it, that Archie Bunker was always bitching about. Like, it's not funny, uh, but it's true. I got a like on that one. One like, can you imagine? I mean, just one like for me is like gold. Nobody likes me, and nobody watches me. So I've been canceled. But I'm like, you guys, you can cancel me. You can turn your eyes away from facts and evidence and promote your propaganda. But as I explained in the last video, again, I'm going to keep on re-repeating and re-repeating. Maybe someday somebody will get the message that all of this protection racket, and my Lord, it's worse than it was before, because at least then, under the WASPs, you had some semblance of merit. And I mean, since the Kennedys came to town, huh, I mean, everything's just gone to the dogs. And the New York was destroyed by the robber barons in the 1800s. And look at it now. I mean, it's like, excuse me, this is no different than what happened in Russia to the Tsar and Tsarina and that royal family. And look how, I mean, the Tsar Nicholas was best buddies with which king was it? Was it King? I forget. I think it was King George. But best buddies of King of England. They looked like each other. I mean, they were cousins. But I mean, they were dead ringers, and the King of England could have done something to save his cousin, but he didn't. Yeah, this is, as I say, like the European royals are not a role model that all of the Americans should be aspiring to. The old guard from the Capote Swans of New York, and that got into Washington as well because Bunny Mellon was here. Catherine Graham, her husband committed suicide. He was the Washington Post. She took over the Washington Post, and the when she took it over, the CIA moved in. And that's pretty much common knowledge these days. I mean, Tucker Carlson, I'm going to have to move this. Tucker Carlson, like, come on, bud. Either you're going to sit there on a podium, you think that you're somehow better than all of these idiots hanging out in their goddamn country clubs and conference rooms here in Washington. Because you're up in Vermont and part-time in Vermont and part-time in Florida and your $1 million homes. Well, no, sorry, buddy. See, so this represents St. George's, and we've got the Bush family. Part of the Bush family went to St. George's. Not if they, I mean, the Bush family were normally, did they go to Hotchkiss? Yeah, I think they were more Hotchkiss. Hotchkiss. And then probably a couple, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, some went to Choate. So, yeah. And then one of them went to Woodbury Forest, where my brother went to school. Anyway, I digress. These are the networks. As I made point time and time again, these schools were supposed to produce networks that were supposed to lead the country into a wonderful golden age of Reaganomics. Well, it's left the country off. It's led the country off a cliff. And as I keep on pointing out to all of the people in the UN and the World Bank and IMF and the International Development Community, that I can promise you spends and wastes as much money on parties, like coaches, training programs, workshops. I mean, just all sorts of stupidity, just designed to produce chaos, because the feminists have taken over HR, so they want to dominate and control through fear the entire organization. So they've become real top heavy. They started in the really 70s, 80s to explosive growth along with the corporations. They're in league with the corporations. So, they need to be challenged. The feminists, are behind the Me Too. That needs to be challenged, but I can't find lawyers. So if it's not the lawyers, here we got the lawyer represented here by Baron Coleman. As I say, we, these, I don't want you to target any of these people because they're just representative of bigger problems in society. And this is just a case study with, it being Charlie Kirk's assassination and, Candace Owens investigate. Well, it's not just her. And this is, I couldn't believe last night, or early this morning rather, I saw a new podcaster, Riley Gaines. And okay, Riley, mount your charge and get on out there and start dispersing anti-Candace rhetoric. I mean, it just... So I'm going to have to cover her. It was just it was her second podcast. I mean, let's not be too obvious and make it the first. Was just, Candace is crazy. But your typical, criticize the person, throw insults around, but not talk about any kind of substance. So yeah, while we're going into that, she's joined the bandwagon. Unfortunately, her husband is British. See this, I have warned Candace about this, but she, oh, my inbox has so many emails. Well, deal with it and I keep on telling you, your problem is managerialism. Too many chefs spoil the soup, and hire me to set put together administrative systems. That's one of the reasons. I mean, I did it. I did it at the IMF Family Association, tiny organization, but is a disaster. When I got to the International Monetary Fund, I was like, you guys are no different. I mean, IMF Family Association, I was like, well, this is the same shit that I saw with Bogota K in Madrid. You know, that's like a bunch of backstabbing, social climbing French diplomatic wives. So it's like, well, yeah, okay. That's why I came up, or one of the reasons why I came up with the idea for global expats was to solve that problem. But I was like, oh my God, even when you pay these people, they're just as incompetent. Yeah, so this is a problem of worth ethics. And this does come from the prima donna era of, you know, Marilyn Monroe. Here you have the Kennedys. I mean, see, Jackie Kennedy, she put up with all of the philandering of her husband. Apparently, Robert Kennedy's philandering was more just following his big brother. Uh, so she put up with it, but she didn't like Marilyn Monroe because Marilyn Monroe was like, you know, an icon. The others were just the starlets who came and went in a revolving door. And so she's going to turn a blind eye. But, you know, really, John F. Kennedy, not much different than Trump with his women. I mean, okay, Trump is much crass. I mean, John F. Kennedy had more class than that. But even John F. Kennedy, the Kennedys, the reason that John F. Kennedy married Jackie was she did represent old money. Her father had lost it in the stock market. And her mother had moved on, found herself a new meal ticket husband, and was living in Middleburg. And so, you know, that, sorry, moving this stuff around. So, you know, these two, they were just like, okay, well, whatever. Yeah, oh, that's the official story of what happened to our husbands. Yeah, we're good. I mean, Bobby, he had to fight until just recently for them to come out with the truth about who killed his father. So anyway, history repeats itself and repeats itself. This is not what the founding fathers had in mind. This is what the robber baron heirs had in mind. And they're just like, if you look at the Mellons, the Morgans, people always talk about the Morgan Bank, but they're forgetting about Tim Mellon. And Miriam Adelson, but they're forgetting about Tim Mellon. And why did Tim Mellon, his sister and his stepmother went to Foxcroft? Here's Foxcroft. Yeah, that's the school of all the robber baron heiresses. Cobham Hall is my alma mater in England. You can look at the people there, and the deep state videos I did on that would be 9 and 10, I do believe. 8 is Foxcroft, 9 and 10, and then 11 was the new headmistress joined. So I went back to Foxcroft because the new headmistress she's gay, and I mean, yeah, what do I need to say? Oh, Foxcroft is even getting further into the LGBT territory. So why is, you know, instead of combating the problems, that his family has made all of these centuries, Tim Mellon, why is he just throwing good money after bad while the country gets further and further into debt and goes to the dogs? I mean, this is under the Enemy Alien Act. He's involved. And RICO. Oh, it's funny. Tim Mellon, he loves RICO, and it'll be used against him. Not too funny. So anyway, then we have a sampling because, okay, if I can't get the lawyers or how do we say, the ideologue, I mean, Tucker Carlson, yeah, he's right on a lot of things. He's one of the few people out of the conservatives, you know, the preppies and the yuppies and your white wasps who've hung me out to dry and told me, oh, well, you've been offered up as a sacrificial lamb to atone for the sins of our trad wife over here, Susan Andrews, Tucker Carlson's wife. I'm like, yeah, I'm sorry. I was never, Susan Andrews. Her father was the headmaster of St. George's, and while he was headmaster, there were scandals, of course, like all of these schools, of bullying, sexual harassment. It's a boys' school, sexual harassment between students and teachers and students. So he wasn't directly involved, but he was in the cover up. And then we've got Megyn Kelly over there, who's a real social climber. She's, she says middle class, but upper middle. Well, her father was not a blue collar worker or a manual laborer. He was a professor at a university, and he passed away. So her mom became a single mom, so she didn't have really much money. So she obviously, but she grew up in that Connecticut, New York area, and aspired to become Cornelia Guest, CZ Guest, and she is the new Capote Swan of the New York area. She and Maureen Callahan. Huh. When those two get together, real pair. I mean, you just can. It's just like being at a luncheon with these two, when all of these ladies. And Caroline has become just like her mother, and sadly, Caroline's daughter just passed away from cancer. But somebody recently asked me if the Kennedys had a curse. I was like, the Kennedys, they make their own curse. I mean, just like all of these, dynastic families with curses, and all these tragedies that happen. It's the way they live their lives. It's highly self-destructive to themselves and everyone around them. So, what the values and principles and capitalism is another thing. We're talking about Mandeville, Bernard Mandeville, instead of Adam Smith capitalism, which basically contends, well, yeah, whores, pimps, soldiers, weapons producers, they produce economies, and they produce real high GDPs. We're good. We're good. Yeah, but you cannot, you're going to, just by the laws of physics, if you will, social physics, that's going to self-destruct, because you're going to be a pain in the ass. You're going to be pissing off people who will eventually revolt. And everybody's sick and tired of these prima donnas who just want to get up in ivory towers and sit there and waste money. And for a couple, I mean, you look at these people, even, what is it? Is Candace Owens the top with 2 million? I mean, I was looking, they were talking about All in the Fam, or no, not All in the Family, Family Ties. That's from the 80s. And it's a great, period comedy piece. The parents are the hippies grown up, and had to cut their hair and get real jobs. And the kids, particularly the eldest son, is, going to be an entrepreneur and the role model, what these, the kind of Tucker Carlson, if you will, at the time, but from a middle class family, and he aspires to be a billionaire, well, a millionaire in those days. So anyway, then, you've got the military. We have here Paramount over here. Oh my Lord, this man, he is just Gary Melton. I need to get a picture of his face there. He is obsessed with Candace. I mean, just, it's in part, it's professional because he is military industrial complex, wars and wars and more wars. definitely of that camp. So of course Candace ideologically is an enemy, because and it's she's what she's exposing is not just the military, it's CIA and military. So that of course is a threat to him. His loyalty is to the military, and this is where we will be having when the Civil War starts, unless you guys keep on shutting me up, that's where we're going to end up. So when Civil War starts, you're going to have Gary Melton type of guys. I promise you, he's like, white, red hair, kind of like a, Prince Harry look, coloring, but tattoos all over the place. All of these people have tattoos. My God. Um, so anyway, I'm like, oh my God, he looks like a British soldier on the American Revolution. All we got to do is dress him up in the costume. Yeah, so he'll definitely be for the industrialist and the Trump loyalist, when that starts. And then you have Valhalla. He will be he'll definitely be because he's frustrated. He's one of these military guys who's like, you know what? I'm not buying this shit anymore. That's why I got upset with him and the whole Mitch Snow stuff. And he really doesn't owe an apology to Mitch Snow, because he was off the mark on that. And he really needs to look at my research and what I've been doing on family courts, because this is the crux of the problem. And that if this, when this does come to a civil war, this is the fundamental issue that is going to be, what the war is fought over. Um, Allocation of resources and the concentration. Gary Melton, he wants concentration of wealth for a one percenter, and then so he can oppress and terrorize the rest of the 90%. And he gets his ass kissed by the 10 percenters. And Gary Melton, excuse me, is it this Valhalla? I think Valhalla's Nate. I forget if I'm not sure his last name, but he, is more of a, he does. I believe he did one of these few people who joined the military for some sort of ideological position. I mean, most of this, it's to get away from abusive families. They can't find jobs. It's usually for economic reasons and social climbing reasons. I mean, like anything, um, you can use it for good or bad. But yeah, Nate, either you're going to start looking at reality and grow a pair, or instead of just being like the little socialites sitting in their country club bitching about all the problems, which is what Megyn Kelly does, Tucker Carlson does, Billy Bush. He's just Hollywood entertainment. But again, excuse me, Hollywood has been at the lead of the societal norms really since, well, started in the 1930s, but really taken over in the 1950s after World War II, and become a really dominating force. And they've done a really shitty job. Again, SDGs are not going to work because they're following the lead of all of these crazy assholes, who just want to produce prostitutes, pimps, drug addicts, soldiers, and unsustainable economies. So then we've got Jesse on Fire. He's this like a Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan and Jesse on Fire, they're the same, you know, group camp, if you will, because they're not military, but they got tattoos all over the place, muscles, and they're martial arts people. So, yeah, they'll be in either you got the seat warming guys. This comes from um, Burnham, James Burnham, and that's about managerialism. And he said back in the 40s, he said, communism versus capitalism is not your problem, it's managerialism. And capitalism, I mean, these people are just showing that we don't have, once again, free trade capitalism in this country. I've been trying to find money for my Global Expats project for 20 years. Bill Gates became interested, or Microsoft became interested, a business developer over there became interested in 2007, and that's what made my husband flip out. And the threats and attempts upon my life, and kind of the rest is history, and I've been canceled because of it. So don't tell me this is free trade. My home was taken, my children were taken, I had to run. I get to my own country, I get no help from anybody, I get canceled by all of the ruling elite, thrown to the wolves in the labor market. I've got pending lawsuits. I know statute of limitation, no statute of limitation. No, yeah, okay. RICO, sorry, that's not, anybody who pulls out that one, I'm just like, okay, you've just jumped on board on RICO. You want to play that game with me. This bullshit, you're destroying the Constitution. Everything that you're doing is against RICO, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, and the Enemy Alien Act. On those three alone, I could drain this city. Oh yeah, well, the problem is we can't find any lawyers with balls, and all the seat warmers, the white collar workers, they just want more and more and more jobs. And the reason that the Democrats didn't change any of that, because of course, this becomes a top heavy economy of too many chefs spoil the soup, and you just want to sit around trying to make yourself look busy and earn as much money as you possibly can. Well, people at the bottom are getting crushed and getting pissed off, and no resources for them. So yeah, it's not working. So then you have Candace Owens. I mean, she's speaking out. She's kind of this group. If it hadn't been for the Charlie Kirk assassination, she would have been no different. I mean, she was kind of branching off from TPUSA. I don't know if she was at their speeches, but she was still part of this group of the Riley Gaines, the Isabel Brown, under, the Erica Kirk camp, even if maybe Erica and Candace Owens, I mean, I have the impression that part of the reason there was a distancing between Candace and TPUSA and Charlie Kirk might have been, that Erica Kirk wasn't exactly Candace's cup of tea, because she wouldn't be, just knowing what I've seen of the two women. So I mean, Candace has a brain, and Erica Kirk is just pretty blonde, just like a Meghan McCain, Cindy McCain of Arizona. And those, I'm pretty sure Meghan McCain was a debutante, and Erica Kirk rose through the ranks through Miss America. I mean, same difference. This whole debutante stuff that was brought back to vogue by Cornelia in the 80s. It's same can of worm. And I do point out all the time that Cornelia's godparents were Wallace Simpson and the deposed or the abdicated King of England. And here they are buddy with Hitler. They were planning, if Germany took over England, well, he was going to go back on the throne. The McCain Institute, that's, TPUSA, it's a religious nonprofit. The McCain is a secular human rights nonprofit. Same can of worms. These things are fraudulent, whether they're in the religious arena or the secular arena. They've embraced managerialism, and it's just, let's make lots and lots and lots of jobs for these people, and we're going to get all our money from our donors, these wealthy, wealthy billionaire donors, and disperse the rhetoric and propaganda that our donors want. So yeah, that's not working. It didn't work out very well under corporate press. And with this free press on YouTube, it's kind of having the same effect. So yeah, so you have the Joe Rogan type, Jesse on Fire. Well, Jesse, he also does a podcast with his wife. Now they met, lo and behold, I just recently learned that, and I was like, why doesn't this surprise me? They met and even I think got married on one of these like reality dating shows. I'm like, oh my God. Okay, another version of let's turn it into a spectacle, while making some money and turning these people into commodities. And, the whole mating game used to be run by society ladies and mothers and wives, and, oh, my son's going to marry your daughter, or that's where you had the debutante parties was to present, and that was usually 16, 17. I'm pretty sure back in the like Victorian era, because 18, 19, 20, you're getting on in years. You better find yourself a husband quick before you become an old maid. So anyway, I mean that these things were that's trafficking women. All of these things. So, and even TPUSA, you hear about now with the scandals of sexual harassment. I mean, it's mainly with men, with young men. So, and then it's like, wait a second, Jerry Falwell, the Moonies, these are cults. So, yeah, TPUSA, this is definitely more than just another nonprofit with that needs to answer questions about where their money's been going all of these years and what it's been used for. Look, how much has the RFK human rights been used to destroy the Democratic Party and control, Washington? Ethel Kennedy didn't have the personality to do it herself. So the Kennedy family has a nonprofit that together they had a platform with an agenda. Okay, and then you have Trigger Smart and Ian Carroll down here, here you got I mean, I'm not sure what his background, but he knows about guns and he's been on that side, the ballistic side on this discussion, rather than ideological. Then you have Ian Carroll, good friend of Candace Owens, and on her camp, he's the techie guy, but also an ideologue, conservative, but how shall I say it? More, yeah, liberal conservative. So then you have Patriotic Dad, oh gosh, who supports one of these. Oh yeah, let me tell you how to win in a divorce case and destroy your. What was one of the books? I think the one in the United States is How to Destroy the Bitch or something like that. Yeah. So this opportunist of whatever it takes, and whoever gets hurt in the process, be damned. And see how he's painted his face, the American flag. So this is why the conservatives get a reputation as fascism. And the, this American flag is starting to have, because see, the Nazi swastika, that that's a sign of peace. For example, in the pyramids, and you'll find this in the ancient text and different things, you'll find this symbol, and this is the Hindu swastika. And that, so that dates back to ancient times, and it actually means peace. And Hitler, that was originally Hitler, and that's the swastika, the Nazi one, was originally for peace. So yeah, but it ended up with the same type of thing that this patriotic dad is doing to the American flag. And you know, it's not just him; it's military men like Gary Melton, who you know, in for the ride. Oh, by the way, Mitch Snow is one of these military guys who's like, yeah, I was young and impressionable when I signed up, and I drank your Kool-Aid. Yeah, I'm not drinking that shit anymore. So, you know, those, I'm a pacifist, so you're never going to find me. You would never find me in the military. I'd be like the Goldie Hawn in the movie where she gets sent to the military. It's like, yeah, somebody made a mistake here. I'm not supposed to be here. So anyway, although I wasn't a pampered, stupid, idiot, dumb blonde like her. I mean, my parents had a farm, and I used to do all the manual labor. I mean, with my siblings as well. We were cheap labor. We didn't get paid. Talk about your slavery. So anyway, I mean, slavery is not dead. In fact, what the feminists have done to women in society, they shafted them in family courts. They destroyed their rights there and the parental rights of women and men and women, mothers and fathers, and family. Uh, but then also they've done a number in the oh shit, it's already 9 o'clock. They've done a number in the labor markets. So there's the favoritism for all of these young, you know, cute young things. And particularly respectable women. Oh, cougar women, if you just care about money and you want to become predatory like the men and go after the young fresh meat that we're bringing in here, come on in. Welcome, welcome. But if you actually care about workplaces and your country or values and morals, then yeah, we're gonna try and get you living in a tent on the streets, as I have been threatened many a time. It was funny in the last video about the that was this was the 33, the pedophile castle that goes into the very dark world in Belgium and in Europe of the elite. That's near Brussels. So that's the old guard, because apparently that's the Solvay family. There's some suggestions that this is the Belgium royal family, one of the members, I think it's the prince, is involved in these kind of satanic things. I mean, this has been going on for a long time, and this, because you know, the thing with the Masonic lodges and the Illuminati, that was started, I believe it was in Italy, but it was, when it was started, it was just it was a bunch of artisans who were getting together to defend their rights, because of course they're working for the aristocracy, and these are the merchants. They're making good money off of all of the aristocracies and the wars of the kings and the aristocracy. But of course they're going to be exploited by those groups, and then there's also going to be competition and all sorts of you know, it's no longer just an agrarian problem of, well, my cow got loose and got together with your cow and they produced another baby. They produced a baby. Well, who owns the baby type of thing. It wasn't between farmers. Um, Now you had the urban populations growing, and so you had these issues between the merchants. So you needed regulation within the court systems, justice systems, unofficial, unofficial. You're not going to go to court over everything. Um, but of course, this type of situation just engenders mafia and protection rackets to whether they be secular or religious to produce. And that's what got produced. And some of it got mixed up with all of this satanic stuff which I'm really not very familiar with. It's funny, on my way home, sometimes you'll find books people leave out. And I found some on voodoo in Haiti, and I'm gonna have to read that. But yeah, so all of this apparently comes from the ancient world, and gosh, I've run out of water. And all of these sacrificial, like sacrifices of children and people, and just really some really, really sick, bestial things. Um, and I guess, maybe this is where Candace Owens is going, kind of with and Starkey Farmstead. She'll go into that as well. These dark, uh, bestial, satanic rituals and traditions really date back to the origins, early man, and are bringing up the question of, you know, well, are we animal, or are we, just like any other animal out there? Dogs, what they were called in one of the Bible quotes. Um, or are we, you know, how shall I say it, the top of the food chain, and better than that, and able of reaching, like in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, reaching those upper levels, spiritual beings, whether that be some, through Christian religions or Buddhism or any of the other, um, you know, religions or traditions. So I guess that's kind of what, is the big thing. Because I remember it was Joe Kennedy Sr., and he was like, and this was when he was ambassador to England, and he's like, oh yeah, and the Jewish problem. And I was like, well, that's just, anti-Semitic. And that's where we all have been jumping on that bandwagon for a long, 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 long time, automatically, and that really has been conditioned into Western society post World War II, and probably before. Um, but let's look at the Jewish question. What is this Jewish question? So yeah, I think part of that, a lot of it has to do with, well, they were wanderers, they didn't have a nation, they didn't have a state. All of the, Europe, their identity and of sovereignty rights, and a lot of our laws were developed out of that nation state, which was separate from the church. And the Jewish community didn't really do that. So let's give them Israel, and let's give them a country, and then they can have a nation state and sovereignty. Well, yeah, that didn't work out exactly as planned. So I won't go into that. But so these are really the different actors, all following the lead of the robber baron heiresses of the 1800s, which these ladies, and these families took up the baton, the stick, in the 1950s and 60s, post World War II, and And that really was the rise to power of the Catholics and the Jews, and then other minorities, racial minorities as well in the United States. And that's what's really kind of creating the friction right now. I mean, as you notice over here, um, oh, I guess you don't. Yeah, everybody is white there except Candace. There's Sabi Sabs. I just didn't have room for everybody. There's Sabi Sabs. She like Coach Colin, Sabi Sabs. Um, yeah, I guess I maybe should put them in there. I mean, they more represent that the black community, which my question for the black community is, where have you all been about the new Jim Crow? I've been at the charge, at the lead on that of we've got to get this to the International Criminal Courts against crimes against humanity and expose how the American government has purposely were involved in bringing in drugs into this country, getting urban poor black men, particularly the men, because those are the ones who become violent, um, get them with prison records, in prison or with prison records, and get them all doped up on crack cocaine. I mean, this was a psyop of the CIA and the American government. But no, nobody will give it. Nobody wants to help me on that one either. Family court? No. We don't want to get involved in any unpleasantness. We're too busy making money off of all of the nonprofits and the different bullshit companies that people are producing. For example, everybody needs a yacht these days. So, it's all about the allocation of resources. So, I think I'm pretty sure I did do yep, I got my audio on there.
Yachting is one of the entertainment industry's biggest open secrets, with A-list stars, including models, actors, and influencers, being rumored to have been involved in yachting at some point during their careers. If you're unfamiliar with the term, yachting is used to describe the practice of being paid to spend time, often on a yacht, with extremely wealthy clients. Over the years, it has become a popular way for women to raise their profile while making some money. However, under the surface, it has a dark history of coercion, sexual exploitation, and human trafficking. The term itself first started gaining traction when The Hollywood Reporter published an investigation into the culture at the Cannes Film Festival in 2013, claiming that models and some Hollywood actors swarmed the hotels and yacht parties during the festival. A man named Eli Nahas, who ran a modeling agency at the time and would later be convicted of supplying more than 50 women to rich Middle Eastern clients during the festival, said, "Every year there are 30 to 40 luxury yachts in the bay at Cannes, and every boat belongs to a very rich person. Every boat has about 10 girls on it, and they are usually nude or half nude. These women are referred to as yacht girls, and they blur the lines between partygoers and escorts, as the general agreement between them and the host of the boat is that by coming aboard they are expected to carry out favors. But at the end of the night, they are all gifted envelopes full of varying amounts of money. The amount of cash they receive is based upon their celebrity status and what favors they carried out over the course of the evening." According to Nahas, you'd definitely recognize more than a few names from Hollywood. They tell themselves what they're doing at Cannes is okay, that they're just on dates with girls, include Bella Hadid, Hailey Bieber, and Meghan Markle. But before we get deeper into that, let's ponder why an already wealthy and successful person would consider doing it. As previously stated, the men who own these boats are extremely wealthy, and unfortunately, with wealth comes power and connections, and having a decent relationship with some of these people could take your career to the next level. According to The Hollywood Reporter, yachting your way to stardom happens with disturbing frequency, and even pointed a finger at actress Irina Shayk, who landed her debut role in the film Hercules despite having 0 previous acting credits. And in a stylist article on women yachting, an anonymous source said, "You might see people on the red carpet and have no idea who they are, but there's a reason why they're being elevated. They're being seen, but so is the person who invited them there." They also went on to say, "You often see someone with 1 million followers, always traveling and being pictured on a private jet, and you think, well, how are they doing that? Where are they going and who with?"
The men who are going to be involved in yachting, it's going to be very high up, well-to-do, extremely wealthy, well-connected, anonymous businessman type. You wouldn't recognize their name. You have no idea who they are. They probably own a bunch of companies, got a lot of money. You wouldn't recognize their name.
To give you an idea of just how wealthy these yacht owners are, some of the yachts spotted at the Cannes Festival in 2019 include the Serene, a $500 million super yacht owned by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman that features 2 helipads, an indoor climbing wall, a fully equipped spa, and 3 swimming pools. Also spotted at Cannes was the Eclipse, the second largest super yacht in the world, valued at an estimated $1.2 billion. Once you take a look at some of these yachts and factor in what a relationship with their owners could potentially offer your career, as well as the often 5-figure plus gifts you receive at the end of the evening, it becomes more clear why someone would be open to play along, even if they don't exactly need the money. In 2021, Emily Ratajkowski released a memoir titled My Body, where she details her indoctrination into the cult of beauty as defined by powerful men. Part of this book delves into her experiences yachting, and this made people speculate whether or not Bella Hadid and Hailey Bieber also partake in the business, as Emily has posted videos of them dancing on a yacht together at none other than Cannes Film Festival, the same festival that has become synonymous with yachting. One of the excerpts from Emily's book names one of her yachting clients as Joe Law, a Malaysian businessman who has since become a fugitive on the run 2021 after allegedly embezzling billions from the Malaysian state. With Emily publicizing her experience yachting with Joe Law, people began drawing lines between him and other potential yacht girls. For example, in 2010, Joe Law was pictured partying with Paris Hilton in St. Tropez, and in 2019, the Sun Daily reported that Kylie Jenner would be celebrating her 22nd birthday on Joe Law's yacht. This corresponds with a 2015 blind item posted about Kris Jenner and Kylie Jenner.
I found this Kris Jenner, Kylie Jenner blind item from 2015 that is so creepy, but I've never believed something more. We had really hoped that the younger member of this family would avoid all the pitfalls to which the others fell prey. No such luck. She's already in deep. The latest, she's actually being coached by her mother in both the art of pleasing a man as well as how to find one to pay her a lot to do it. We're not talking about a boyfriend or husband here. We're talking about yachting. We're talking about professional work. Her television fame and young age are already earning her a significant bonus over others who provide similar services. So that is Kris Jenner literally pimping out her own daughter, who was not 18, well below 18 at the time. Oh my god, this is when they were filming Keeping Up with the Kardashians. On brand at least.
According to Daily Mail, Joe Law also sent Kim Kardashian home in a white Ferrari and $250,000 cash in a garbage bag after partying with him in Vegas for a weekend. People have accused Kim of being a yacht girl for over a decade due to her appearances on yachts and seemingly random solo trips to countries such as Bahrain and Kuwait to attend grand openings of the chain restaurant Millions of Milkshakes, a stunt that actually resulted in large protests, which reportedly were tear gassed by police. It's a little loose, but some people claim these appearances were a cover for what she was actually being paid to do. While on the topic, Kendall Jenner was one of 13 celebrities to attend the grand opening of Hotel Atlantis the Royal in Dubai back in January, where she would be caught on camera in someone's Instagram story. TikTok user and hobbyist lip reader, impossibly asleep, would share with us what Kendall was saying in the clip.
I'm doing some stalking and my lip reading's getting really good. Is this your first or second time? This is my third. My first two times were horrible. Horrible. This is so fun.
People interpreted this clip as Kendall badmouthing her prior experiences in Dubai, with some speculating what she could have been doing there, especially after the Dubai porta potty story went viral. A story I won't go into, but will summarize as wealthy men flying out young women to Dubai and paying them to eat human waste. There have also been rumors of Meghan Markle being a yacht girl circulating as far back as the early 2010s, with some people even speculating that this is how she met Prince Harry.
She was a deal or no deal suitcase holder, and then all of a sudden she ends up marrying into the royal family. How is that possible?
According to a blind item posted by 3 Days 3 Nights, if you see B actress post scantily clad photos of themselves on social media, this is often a comm that this person is available to rent for a weekend of yachting, typically worth $30,000 for the party. We're about to go off the deep end and enter conspiracy theory territory, but the part about posting scantily clad photos of themselves to advertise their availability is something many people online claim to be a real thing, with some people even claiming that water company 138 Water could be a front for offering high-end escorting services to the wealthy. A 2017 Crazy Days and Nights blind item says, last year she was affiliated with a high-price escort service run by a sleazy paparazzi agent who uses bottled water ads as a catalog of available girls. The so-called Fashion Water is a front company who lists this always broke rapper as a spokesman for the co-owner. A real co-owner is this mummager herself. Most if not all of the models posing in these water company ads are available for a price, including the sister of this ex-Disney actress turned escort. Taking a look at 138's Instagram page, all you see are posts of women in bikinis, with descriptions that seemingly advertise the women more than the products they're selling. Excerpts from one of their descriptions include, join us in celebrating the unstoppable energy and incredible vibe of the one and only Nina Svent, Miss European Universe. Nina is a force to be reckoned with. Brace yourselves for a visual feast that will leave you craving for more. Get ready to be inspired, motivated, and blown away. Brace yourself, because Nina is about to take you on a journey to new heights. People have theorized that the broke rapper mentioned in the blind item is Tyga, and the mummager is none other than Kris Jenner.
If you are trying to have a fast track to success, but it's not happening for you, modeling, acting, entertainment industry, whatever that looks like, yachting will always promise you connections. It will promise that you will meet high up people who are the decision makers for signing movie deals, signing modeling contracts. It may not always be true. They're going to promise you that you're going to meet some big names.
In the pretty famous blind item posted by Crazy Days and Crazy Nights, a struggling actress whom people have speculated to be Vanessa Lenges details their experience yachting and highlights some of the darker elements while also giving context as to why a seemingly successful person would consider yachting. The blind item says, I'm an actress, a generally out of work actress. If not for voiceover work, things would be bleak right now. I had high hopes for this past year, but the show I was starring on got cancelled. It happens a lot. I was on a hit network show for a few years, just a reoccurring role. It was on that show that I started talking to another actress. People have guessed this other actress to be either Naya Rivera or Heather Morris from Glee. She continues, while we waited for a scene to be set up, we would talk a lot. Hours of free time gives you a lot of time to discuss things. It was not that long ago that I was working every week in a pretty good show and making quite a lot of money. Then the star of the show got tired of acting, and just like that, the show ended, and I was scrambling. I told her this story, and she said I should think about heading to Europe for the summer. She had done it before. The more she talked about it, the better it sounded. Each week, you never know if your job will be lost. Will the show be cancelled? Will the audience hate your character and you get fired? Will you ever get another job if you do get fired? The actress I was talking to made it sound super easy, and that she only had sex a few times with the guys while yachting, and that it was mostly partying and being arm candy. I asked her what I needed to do, and she said that she would introduce me to the person who can make it happen. She made a call, and that night we went and had drinks with a woman who gets a fee for sending people to model. That's what she called it. She had some fake British accent, which sometimes turned into a fake French accent. You're there to look pretty. A yacht is elegant, and so are you. Owners of yachts like to have parties, and needed to fill those parties with models. Again and again, the word model. Anyway, I was already in. I knew what to expect, and I knew I needed the money. I was treating this like an acting job. I would play the model part to a T. People know my face, people know my work. My fee at the time was $25,000 per episode, and each episode took a week to film, so I wanted $25,000 up front. 2 days after meeting the woman, the money was in my account. On my flight to Paris, I didn't notice any other women who looked like they were models, but when I got to Paris, that all changed. The models are all in the tiniest of bikinis. Most are topless. There was a lot more groping and staring. You would be in the water, and some guy would grab you and touch you. They wanted to shower with you when you got out of the water. They wanted to rub oil on you and have you rub it on them. If they saw some poor model passed out, they would film her and grope her. For the most part, it was a 3-hour sexual assault recorded. I hated it. A couple who were favorites of the people running the tour would stay with those guys in the yacht. The rest of us were 6 to a room in a hotel. By my last night there, half of the women were gone. Some had just quit. Some had ended up with a guy they liked, and at least one person from my week overdosed. In 2021, Vice conducted an interview with a former super yacht deckhand who described their time on board as the coolest job in the world on the surface, while in reality, it meant cleaning up after sex parties, orgies, drug binges, and slaughtering animals on board so the food is as fresh as it can be. They also detail a fatality that happened where an anchor chain came loose and cut a leg off of an officer, leading to him bleeding out and dying on the boat.
Yeah. So that's the wonderful world of yachting. Let's go and see, because Melania is really
Melania's real past with Trump is back to haunt family.
so. This I think everybody will, Trump, there's damaging evidence of Trump. I think a lot of it had to do with what the Epstein files would expose about Melania that may have been more worrisome for the Trump administration White House.
Right now, Melania Trump is trying to cash in on her husband's desperate cover-up of his dark past. And in doing so, she just made a catastrophic mistake. Because in her attempt to grift off the moment, she accidentally drew everyone's attention back to the one story she and Donald never wanted anyone to examine too closely. The real story of how they met, the real story of her background, and the real story of how a relatively unknown Slovenian model somehow ended up with one of the most exclusive visas in American immigration history. A visa typically reserved for Nobel laureates and Olympic champion. If you're finding this helpful, take a second to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Those things are completely free, but they help me out tremendously. Now let me show you exactly what Melania just exposed. See, yesterday Melania posted an advertisement for her book, specifically the chapter titled How I Met Donald Trump. And I have to be honest with you, when you actually read what she wrote and then cross-reference it with everything we know about that period of time, the story becomes genuinely disturbing. Because this wasn't just any period in Donald Trump's life. This was 1998. This was the height of his friendship with Jeffrey Epstein. This was when Ghislaine Maxwell was described in the London Sunday Mirror as Madame Maxwell, a woman whose job was bringing young, beautiful women to wealthy Manhattan businessmen like Trump, and the place where Donald Trump met his future wife, a club called the Kit Kat Club. Now, if you've been following this story for any length of time, you've heard me talk about the Kit Kat Club before. This was not some elegant Manhattan gala. This was a specific kind of establishment where wealthy older men met young Eastern European women. There was a man named Paolo Zampoli who ran a modeling agency that specifically recruited young Eastern European women, brought them to New York, and then paraded them. At these Kit Kat Club parties where men like Donald Trump would show up. That's the romantic origin story. That's the fairy tale Melania is now trying to sell for $40 million to Amazon. But here's where it gets interesting. When you actually read Melania's own words, even in her sanitized, ghostwritten autobiography, the cracks in the story are...
Now, you need all of these models coming in because the feminists are telling, we've got Cornelia Guest, all of our white American women are only concerned about developing their career, and they don't want some overinflated ego frat boy. They don't want to put up with that shit. So that's where they import all of these, bimbo models from poor countries who don't care, who are just happy to. I mean, this is when Virginia Giuffre, when she was taken in at 14 years old, she was trafficked at 14 years old, not by Jeffrey Epstein, by another guy, Ron Eppinger. That's where, when you hear about all of her description, sexual acts, that's where it's really coming from. Because there she really was abused, and physically and sexually. So, but anyway, she, the girls who were there were from, I think it was mainly Asians, but they were like, oh yeah, so what? Oh, we get to go shopping. Just forget about it. It's good. Just do it. And like, look at all of these things that we get to buy.
Impossible to ignore. She describes showing up to his club, tired and jet-lagged from Paris. She describes being in the VIP section when a man approached her table. That man was Donald Trump, and he was already there with another woman, a beautiful blonde, in Melania's own words. So, picture this scene. Donald Trump is at a club known for introducing wealthy men to young Eastern European models. He's there with one young woman already. He sees Melania, and by the end of the night, he's gotten her number and started what would become their relationship. This is the love story she's trying to sell. This is what she's merchandising. And nobody in the mainstream press seems to want to dig into what this actually reveals about both of them. Now, I have to clarify something important here. The issue isn't that people meet at parties or clubs. The issue is the pattern. The issue is the timing. The issue is that virtually everything Melania has claimed about her background has turned out to be either exaggerated, misleading, or outright false. And once you see this pattern, you cannot unsee it. Let's start with the college degree. You probably forgot about this story because it got buried so quickly back in 2016. Melania's official website claimed she had received a degree in design and architecture from a university in Slovenia. The Republican National Convention program repeated this claim. It was part of her official biography. There was just one problem. CBS News actually checked the official public records of the university. Melania Trump is not listed as having graduated there with any degree. Not listed. The degree simply doesn't exist. When this was exposed, her website was quietly taken down. She posted a tweet claiming the website does not accurately reflect my current business and professional interests. But that's not what happened. What happened is that a fundamental claim about her educational background was proven false, fabricated. And instead of addressing it, they just made the evidence disappear and hoped everyone would forget. But that's not even the most significant part. Because the questions about
This is like, everybody is doing that. I mean, the incompetence in this country is just out of control. Oh, well, just scrub it, and nobody will notice. No, like, you're not dealing with these dumb bimbos like Melania Trump, like Cornelia Guest. I mean, those have come and gone. There have been so many of them. People are waking up and going, no more bullshit. And they're not just going to drink the Kool-Aid.
About Melania's immigration status are far more consequential, and they've never been adequately answered. Here's what the Associated Press uncovered through actual documents, not speculation, not rumor, but document. Melania was paid for at least 10 modeling assignments between September and October of 1996, during a time when her visa only allowed her to be in the United States and look for work, not perform paid work. Look for work. Those modeling assignments, according to the documents the AP examined, would have been outside the bounds of her visa, which means she was working illegally. Now some would argue that lots of models did this back then, that it was common practice, and that's true. It was common, it was also illegal, and it becomes significantly more relevant when you consider what came next. In 2001, Melania received a green card, but not just any green card. She received what's called an EB-1 visa, commonly known as the Einstein visa. This is one of the most exclusive exclusive immigration categories in the entire American system. It's reserved for individuals who demonstrate extraordinary ability in their field. We're talking Nobel Prize winners, Olympic medalists, groundbreaking scientists, world-renowned artists at the absolute peak of their profession. Melania Trump was a moderately successful model who had appeared in some catalog work and a few magazine spreads. She was not Naomi Campbell. She was not Cindy Crawford. She was not Tyra Banks. By no objective measure did she meet the extraordinary ability standard that this visa requires, and yet somehow she got one. Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett put it perfectly when she said, "It doesn't take an Einstein to see that the math ain't mathing here." How does a model with no extraordinary documented achievements receive a visa category designed for Nobel laureates? And more importantly, why has this question never been answered? Here's what makes this even more suspicious. During the 2016 campaign, when questions about Melania's immigration status were being raised, Donald Trump stood at a rally and announced that Melania would hold a press conference within the next couple of weeks to address everything. He was so confident. He said she had everything documented. He said it would be fun to watch. He told his supporters to let the story simmer for a while, and then they'd have a little news conference and settle it once and for all. That press conference never happened. Not in 2 weeks, not in 2 months, not ever.
Okay, so I mean, this is not just to, bash Melania, because it was a problem that was going on all the time in playing, that was cool. I mean, the thing is Jeffrey Epstein was, like, everybody knew that Jeffrey Epstein. He gave great parties. Like, he was in. Of course, Trump and Epstein were good friends. And here's the I mean, I'm not going to play that right now. You can go there, but that's the link to the to Virginia Giuffre's memoirs that were written in around, I don't know, 2011, 12, 13, 14, but they were definitely included in the case against Ghislaine Maxwell. This is not the published version. It was written by somebody else posthumously. This is the one, and this does explain, the events that she describes, the sexual events where she's being attacked, was when she was with this Ron Eppinger guy and not Jeffrey Epstein. So this whole stuff about them being raped and victims of rape is just not true. I mean, it's statutory rape when the girls are underage. However, when the girls are becoming, I mean, it depends if it's in Florida or New York. I think Florida is younger than New York, 16, and New York is 17. So that gets into the legal stuff, instead of just a moral question. Anyway, these girls were not, well, it's disgusting, this whole world of yachting. That's what they were participating in. So to equate that with what we had, in the Deep State number 33 presentation and this pedophile castle, these are worlds apart, and they have to be treated as part of a bigger problem that, yes, exists and are related. However, the gravity of, sometimes it's misdemeanor behavior and just inappropriate behavior, and it's just reflective of all of the norms that everybody's been promoting in this country, the government and high society, for the past, I mean, during my lifetime, so past 60 years. So, as I say, you can go in there. There's a link to my book review, if you will, of that. I mean, I'm basically reading it, since nobody out there seems to be reading it. It's even in the court documents, and nobody seems to have read it. I mean, it's crazy. You have all of this evidence that's submitted to these courts, but none of the courts are looking at it. And then, like with Tyler Robinson's case, it's like, wait a second, this whole lone gunman thing is impossible. So why is that the narrative that the court is only looking at? I mean, there's not even a pretense to be defending this poor guy. Just all of the ballistic experts are saying this is not possible. This is not possible. That is not possible. I couldn't believe Riley Gaines saying, "Oh, Candace is coming up with all of these crazy ballistic stories. Candace Owens hasn't come up with that. That's the ballistic guys. Now, is she believing them? Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with her in this case. I'm going to believe an expert. I have absolutely I wouldn't even begin to be able to come up with some sort of theory of what killed Charlie Kirk. But you don't need to be a ballistic expert to know that some wicked ass shotgun that they say is going to blow, that they use for hunting big game is not gonna do some more damage than what it did to Charlie Kirk. It just is not possible, and we have been lied to too many times. I mean, if we weren't dealing with a pathologically lying government that keeps on assassinating everybody and then lying about it, and you can't trust a word that comes out of their mouth, and they're totally incompetent, well, then I would agree with you. You're being paranoid. But since you are dealing with this total incompetence, but I disagree with Andrew Bustamante that it is just incompetence that we're dealing with. I believe that we are dealing with a lot of bad faith as well. And even if it's incompetence, these people are still liable under RICO and Foreign Corrupt Practices Act and Enemy Alien Act. Oh, I was a traitor to my country because I'm just so stupid. Well, second-rate citizen. Okay, fine, become a second-rate citizen. You want to be? Okay, so here, let's look at this one.
Today, new reporting from the New York Times reveals never-before-seen details about the relationship between President Trump and convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The deeply sourced story details just how close Epstein and Trump were and what brought them together. It's in direct contrast to what Trump lawyers claims that the future president and Epstein did not socialize together and were never really friends. Joining me now, the man behind that story, New York Times political investigative reporter Nicholas Confessori. Nick, I want you to take us inside this reporting. How close were they really?
I think they were as close as any other friends that they had. And I think that Jeffrey Epstein thought he was Donald Trump's closest friend for a period. They spent a lot of time talking on the phone about women and sexual conquests. They spent time at Trump Tower or over at Jeffrey Epstein's offices nearby Madison Avenue. They flew on each other's planes, and they partied together a lot of parties with women.
Well, I mean, they spent a lot of time. Has he read through all the transcripts of their conversations? Because I'm sure they had comments about women, but I believe probably their conversations were highly dominated by business things, which is actually much more damaging than talking about a bunch of women.
People who are younger than they are. And I think what brought them together was women and sexual conquest.
Now, we should say that there's no indication. No. We have no proof that Donald Trump did anything that was criminal or related to the criminal activities that put Jeffrey Epstein.
What brought them together was, Wall Street and high finance and corruption.
Ghislaine Maxwell in prison. Having said that, you actually spoke to a former assistant of Epstein's. And I thought, well, how do we know all of this? Because you get into some pretty specific details. He actually let assistants listen in on the phone calls with Donald Trump?
Yeah, it was a power play. So we spoke to several former assistants and employees of Jeffrey Epstein's. And he had a habit of putting Donald Trump and other famous friends on the phone. It was partly a power play and partly a way that he groomed people. See how powerful I am. I can put this person on the phone. I can get them on the phone. I can put them on speaker. We're friends. That's how powerful I am. It was a way that he groomed people. And
oh, God, everybody does that.
He would put Donald Trump on the phone. They would talk about sex.
In response to your question, the White House called it a fake story, which is...
They would get on the phone, on speakerphone to talk about sex. Again, these, like, come on, you guys, just call a spade a spade. Like, they're talking about all of these business. We're as interested in the business stuff as, and who cares if they're talking about some women's ass? Really, quite frankly.
It's not worth the paper it's printed on. Just another stale regurgitation of decades-old false allegations. Adding that President Trump did nothing wrong and he kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago for being a creep. In fact, again, Trump has never been implicated in this wrongdoing. So is this about, as people are looking to hear from him, is it about what he observed, maybe what he knew? And is it even more important given that we are expecting more Epstein files to be released?
Well, look, based on our interviews and a scouring of court records and other sources, at least 6 people who have accused Maxwell and Epstein of grooming and abuse were at some point introduced to Trump through them. And one of them was a minor. And you can read her story in public court records. She said that she was brought to Mar-a-Lago by Jeffrey Epstein when she was 14 and introduced and said, and Epstein kind of nudged Donald Trump and said, this is a nice one, right? Something like that. So I don't know. I think the reader has to judge if 2 grown men are staying there with a 14-year-old, right? What message can you take from that? What should the men have assumed was happening? That's a question for Trump to answer. He didn't want to answer any of our questions specifically. We got one blanket statement for a long list of questions. And we'll see if he ever answers those questions.
I recommend this to folks. The depth of the reporting is so impressive. Nicholas Confessori, it's always great to see you. I want to bring in Jennifer Freeman, special counsel at the Marshall Law Firm. who
Okay,
represents several of
so
Jeffrey Epstein's survivors.
you can, oh, Jeffrey, well, this is a repeat of all things we're seeing all the time. So we'll skip through that, but you do have anybody who's unfamiliar with that story. I don't think they're Biddy, but that's the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. I mean, it's New York high society, Wall Street, wolves of Wall Street. This is the way that these guys live. This is why he left the United States at the end of the 80s. Well, Cornelia was Deb of the Decade and relaunching the debutante parties. I was a reluctant debutante and got the frick out and became a jeune fille au pair. Um, very boring life taking care of a little girl. I mean, the family that I ended up with was very nice. Um, just a couple in the 16th arrondissement. He was Portuguese, of Portuguese descendant. His father, his parents, they had been concierge in a building, 16th arrondissement. So he was an intelligent man and then became one of these golden boys, merger and acquisition, and crashed and burned. Like also all too many. I mean, my ex-husband crashed and burned. There's a lot of, this is not just the success story of all of these people. This whole paradigm destroys a lot of people's lives. This ruthless competition. I mean, Trump was known as the bankruptcy building businessman. Even the Bush family. I think it was Jonathan Bush. He became victim of these, capital ventures, corporate raiders. So that's another. I went through the whole capital venture. I've studied that from Silicon Valley throughout the United States and Europe, trying to find money for global expats. So I've seen a lot of the problems there, both of where the money is being invested, the type of projects, and propaganda, most of the social media. I mean, this is why I can't find the money. I mean, all I need is a measly 100 mil. These guys keep on throwing more billions and billions of good money after bad and propaganda. Um, so, this is just precious. This guy.
The Biden administration was trying to take away their nonprofit status as well. So, this is going back for a really long time. And this kind of leads to the idea of what I've been telling people. Folks, they were going after TPUSA and Charlie Kirk long before Charlie Kirk was killed. And what's happening now, I really believe, is a concerted, engineered, and coordinated effort to do what they couldn't do to TPUSA while Charlie Kirk was alive. So
what were the IRS, investigating before Charlie Kirk, or who the government was investigating before Charlie Kirk was killed? Why?
Robert, go ahead and just kind of address any of that stuff.
Sure. So, Turning Point is organized. I was friends with Charlie Kirk. He was incredibly influential in ways a lot of people didn't even know. So, like, the Trump Kennedy coalition, MAGA Maha coalition came about. We'd done some polling work with Richard Barris, People's Funded Daily, who was also close with Charlie, and we did some work to show the power of that coalition. Got the information to Charlie. Charlie got it to Trump world and was able to help bridge the coalition that came about. So, 2024 election may not have happened without Charlie Kirk, just in that one aspect. Of course, he's got the vote operation, Turning Point Action, which was misrepresented by Wolves in Finance, by the way. Was the best get out the vote operation that the Republicans had in 2024. So, when he set up Turning Point, you have different parts of it that serve different purposes, and so you're usually
the important thing about Turning Point USA was it got Trump into office, and this was an important organization for capturing the young vote. I'm more and more convinced that I was shut up and ignored in Bobby Kennedy's camp. And Bobby Kennedy doesn't even know about me or any of the blogs that I was doing or anything that I've been doing. And Amaryllis Fox is a honeypot CIA plant, just like Erica Kirk.
Usually going to have a very complex set of entities because you're going to have entities dedicated to sort of nonpartisan, nonprofit work. You're going to have some entities dedicated to partisan, political, but still nonprofit work. One's a 501c3, one's a 501c4, referencing which sections of the tax code they stem from. And you structure them that way so that people can make certain donations that can be tax deductible. Now, you're going to have for-profit enterprises in order for this to really work. So you're going to have parts of Turning Point that are for-profit enterprises. So you're going to have, and then you have different state laws that govern charitable work. Not only that, if you're Charlie and you're going to be a high-profile target, that means in states like California, states like New York, you got to be careful about how you structure things. You're likely going to have a state version that's separate, it's not even a subsidiary, but it's independent, so that they can't use an attack on the state entity to come after the federal entity. So like years ago, I helped set up 1776 Law Center to do a lot of legal advocacy for underrepresented causes and cases and clients. But we structured it to not even have any 501c3 or 501c4. We made it just a for-profit entity because of how much harassment happens. So I represented a lot of people.
It's incredible. This guy is sitting there explaining on the internet how these Ponzi things are structured.
When they were in the Tea Party that got caught up in the attack by the Obama administration. And it's just a source of attack. But if you're in that world and people want to make tax deductible donations, you have to have some 501c3s and 501c4s that they can utilize. So, but due to the nature of the tax laws and state regulatory infrastructure, you're going to have a very complex infrastructure within to be able to achieve all the different things Turning Point wanted to achieve and Charlie wanted to achieve through it. So there's a lot. It's easy to get confused about the way deductions work, about when the filings occur, about how the filings occur. And people like Wilson Finance and others who have no understanding at all of the non-for-profit tax world and no real understanding of how Turning Point operates. Give you an idea of how bad he was. He suggested that Turning Point Action was this sneaky group that was siphoning off money because it suddenly got a bunch of money in 2024. Well, that was his get out the vote operation. So of course it was a separate organization. It's going to be a political purpose. So it can't be a 501c3. It has to be a 501c4. And of course it's going to have a lot of money spent in the year that the election was because that's what it was. But that's the kind of basic stuff he got wrong.
See, the thing is, it's done so often that it's like, what's wrong here?
One thing that I don't understand, and obviously I'm not an accountant, a tax lawyer, or a forensic accountant, or anything else, but it seems to me, just on the face of it, it'd be a real challenge to do some sort of forensic accounting from outside the organization, looking at, we have a nonprofit, and I know like when we file our taxes and things like that, that stuff gets posted eventually, but it's not immediate, and it can be months and months and months where we could have already done everything that we needed to do, but that paperwork isn't public for months and months at a time. Like, how can someone outside the organization reasonably do any sort of, forensic accounting with any sort of integrity and give that information to the public?
They really can't. You could look at their various Form 990s that they file and make some inferences about somebody getting paid X amount or something else.
You're usually like, let's go on here. Okay, TPUSA. You can do this ProPublica with anything. With any, just ProPublica, and there you can see it. See, so their tax Turning Point. This is the Inc. one. So there they've got 85 million in revenue. This is what year? 2024. So see, we don't of course have the 2025, but I don't know when this goes live for 2024, but you still have, going back, see, all of these years, you still have historical data. Okay. So we want to find out, of course, we want to find out what's happened in 2025. And we'll see, with that, I don't know when that's going to be posted. But yeah, it's not like, oh, no, you don't have this information.
It's going to be very limited because there's no way you're going to see the whole picture. The whole picture is going to be much more complicated and not publicly disclosed. And there was nothing, if there was anything anomalous in Turning Point, they were going to put Charlie under because he was under constant IRS scrutiny, constant harassing state scrutiny, and a bunch of statements have been misinterpreted. Like he liked what Doge was doing. So he thought, hey, it'd be cool if we use Doge to see if we have maximum efficiency. It's not because he had any suspicions about an entity he really strictly controlled. Charlie had his finger on the pulse across the board. This wasn't like a James O'Keefe. Like, the only big high profile charity that hasn't filed returns has been Project Veritas since they kicked out James O'Keefe. That's somebody that suddenly stopped filing returns and information. It's not Turning Point. They were lying, of course. The Turning Point had timely filed their returns and information is confirmed by the IRS. If you knew Charlie, you knew there was no chance he was going to miss anything like that. And all of that. So what they're doing is they're extrapolating from people's lack of understanding of how NGOs work, lack of understanding of how a Turning Point entity, which is going to have for-profit components, profit components, other components. Also, you may see one entity plug in a lot of labor and expenses and cost. Maybe you put it under this umbrella rather than that umbrella for tax purposes. But that the people drawing broad conclusions, oh, look, it was $3 million. This must mean they were paid this amount. Probably not, because those are just different tax ways to maximize tax advantage so that you can keep the business running at the most efficient level. And he had Turning Point running at an extraordinarily efficient level. I think it kind of shocked a lot of people on the left because as a general rule, the right has done a poor job.
I mean, this is tax avoidance and their whole discussions by the international development community of how this is a problem. And yeah, it's structured so corporations and high wealth people can do all sorts of stuff, and it's got to stop.
Public fundraising for NGOs hasn't done nearly as, but the left is so committed to their causes. Legal defense funds will get $1 million overnight. You even see it, Candace setting it up for this obvious serial abuser and cheat and liar and fraud, which is what that guy was. She's able to raise 6 figures for him overnight. Those kind of causes can, but usually it's been tough on the right. So he ran this with a very clean ship, very strict operation. There were always internal audits being done. His idea to incorporate Doge was, Doge is cool. Let's see if we can use some of the cool things they do in terms of how they use algorithms.
So anyway, you can the link is there in the slides. I mean, it's just when I saw that guy, I think I might have actually had him in another slide. It was just incredible. Um, Real piece of work, that man. So, see, this is the lifestyle that has been promoted in the United States as the great American dream for the past 40, 50 years, which has brought the American public debt from $10 trillion to, I think we must be close to $39 trillion now. All so a bunch of honeypots can go hang out on yachts with, rich and famous celebrities and dictators who have fleeced money from their countries. So, and then the military just wants to protect and defend the right of these rich and famous to go around screwing young women. Okay, so let's get into here. TPUSA connected to international money laundering scheme. So people are waking up and starting to cover this.
The FBI seized 3 Wyoming companies for funding North Korean nuclear weapons. Now, Charlie Kirk's life insurance company was registered by the same firm at the very same address as those North Korean shell companies.
Well, fair warning, I always do this. If I use a teaser that is at the very end of a video, I will just let you know that that is the last story that we're going to cover today, because we got a bunch of really interesting stuff to go through. Erica Kirk. Yeah, new accusations about this, that, or the other. She may have lost her kids, all kinds of stuff. And we're going to go through all of those. And then the one that I just showed you in the coming up clip will be the last thing that we look at. All right, Jesse on Fire. Welcome back, you guys. I am filming pretty late at night on Sunday night because it was family day and I wasn't allowed to work. And so now I'm working after everybody goes to bed. But I've got stories, son. There are a lot of stories to cover today. And, well, tonight, I guess Monday, whatever. The first one we're going to do is another Erica Kirk one, because there's a report that she lost her kids to CPS. And I'm going to show you where we're getting that from, because it's literally being written about all over the place. What they're saying in these articles is that there is a whistleblower nanny who went to Child Protective Services and she lost the kids and they went to Charlie Kirk's parents. Now, let's not jump down my throat if you've already seen this yet, because I'm not saying that I think it's true. I'm saying that it is a report that is out. I'm going to show you the articles. And the reason that I'm even including that, I mean, obviously if that's true, that's a huge story, that would be a massive story if it's true. But even if I don't think it's true, the reason why I am including it is to demonstrate that this is part of something that is happening where Erica Kirk, if you make content about her, it blows up. If you say something negative about her, it goes crazy. I don't know if this is like being driven by some nefarious actors, on high, or if it is just a reflection of how people genuinely feel, or maybe both. But we're going to look at that. And then we also are going to be looking at Heavy Duty Country's video, because he made some observations about her that were excellent. And his video is coming on the heels of some stuff that Candace put out about the Romanian Angel story and all of that stuff, and some connections she's making between Erica and then the surrounding people at TPUSA. And so that is what we're going to do. And we're going to start the week off that way. So let's jump into it. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Yeah, you guys can join the 20 whatever thousand subscribers I gained. Oh, you know what? I take that back. I think I gained 15,000 subscribers last week, which is still enormous. I think it was 23,000 in the last 28 days, and I think 15 of those in the last week. But anyways,
So
thank you guys very much.
jump through, because I agree with him. It's, what's kind of important with that, the story about her losing her kids. We know nothing about this custody battle. There's been rumors, so we really don't know. But it is, this viral stuff that's going on around that. Okay, I forget where he had this stuff going on.
Anyways, folks, it's just kind of getting sick. Like, I'm sitting here.
I think this.
Tim Dillon, who is so funny, but also very on point.
And Erica Kirk, God bless, tragic. I'm sorry for what happened, but nobody knows why she's out there in a glittering pantsuit in a recreated tent that her husband tragically was murdered in, throwing merch out. She's out there talking to Nicki Minaj. People are confused. What's going on? Those are the 3 words that sum up this whole entire mess that we've created.
Like, I know exactly why it feels so cringe when I really put my mind to it. And what it is that they turned it into a show. It's a show. It's a show. And it's so obvious that it's a show. It's like the difference between, like we always talk about, the difference between, gosh, that's a bad example. It's the difference between watching Fox News and watching us. People like me, people like Dan, people like Nate, okay? People like Ian, people like Candace. That's the difference. It's like Fox News, CNN, it's this like highly produced show, and that behind this veneer of whatever they're presenting to you is like something that's a total mystery. You don't have any idea what's going on behind that. All you know is that what you're looking at is manufactured and not real. And like we've discussed many times, people do not like the feeling that they get from fake manufactured anymore, because they can tell the difference, and they really don't like it when they can tell that it's manufactured and they are not seeing an expected automatic level of emotion that will prove that you're a human. You know what I mean? Like they just want to know, like, are you a human? Are you positive you're a human? Because no human should be able to do what you're doing if their husband was shot
the way that Charlie was, especially given that we all saw it. Now, one thing I also wanted to talk about related to TPUSA that I'm thinking about is that Charlie was the engine that drove that vehicle from all reports, right? Like Charlie was TPUSA. That's why everyone was so skeptical when it first happened that TPUSA was even going to be able to continue, right? People were really skeptical about that. They're like, oh man, I don't know how this is going to go. And then now you fast forward to right now and think about how you see them. Like it happens gradually, so you don't even realize it. We thought TPUSA was like not even going to exist, and now we're like, oh, TPUSA throws these massive fireworks-driven shows where Erica Kirk's like being driven out in a little Barbie Ferrari or whatever. It's like I don't know what you're doing, but it seems like you guys are putting on a big show. Ask yourself why, who's driving that? Why are they driving it? Why does it seem like there is something behind it to where, this is my question, like who is really making the decisions there? Who's driving the car and where's the money coming from? Because from my standpoint, well, not even from my standpoint, we all know that Charlie was like, I'm going to be forced to leave the pro-Israel lobby or whatever, right? Okay, well, Charlie was the one who's in charge of this organization. Charlie also called for the dough style audit. We're going to be talking more about the numbers later this week. And it does seem to me like they probably have an influx of dough because they're spending an astronomical amount of money on all this stuff, on this memorial, on the, you know any idea how much money that probably costs? Where's the money coming from and what are they getting for their money, right? Like no one gives money to an organization like that for free,
Stoked. We were like, holy cow, it's about to get real. And then the next one was, I forgive you, after he's not convicted and after the evidence does not really point to Tyler Robinson. I mean, guys, remember, they still have to prove it in court that he did it. I just imagine his lawyers are having a damn field day with this. Okay, so can you show me any picture with Tyler with the gun? Oh, you can? How do you know he wasn't framed? How do you know he wasn't set up? It's gonna be interesting. Anyways, folks, it's just kind of getting sick. Like, I'm sitting here and trying to...
Yeah. How do you know that he didn't get set up? How do you know that he didn't get framed? Because the report from Candace, that, I can't verify her source or anything, but the report from Candace is that Tyler Robinson did not confess to the crime. He had no idea what was going on. He had no idea why they suspected him, and then they turned him in so he wouldn't get shot by cops or whatever that was, right? So let's assume that's true, just for this thought exercise. Well, we talked about it 1,000 times, dude. Lance Twiggs has access to his devices. Well, guess what? Someone else could have access to his devices. Could have been Lance. Much more likely suspect from my perspective. History of violence, potentially schizophrenic based on those things. We've talked about all this. And honestly, at the end of the day, all of this talk could be for nothing. Like all of the research everybody's done, all the investigations that we've all done could be for nothing. Right? They could have bulletproof evidence that we do not know about. There could be a reason why they decided to not release the video of the rooftop when he's actually taking the shot and only release once the guy is running.
Even, Megyn Kelly, she says she believes it's a lone gunman. Well, even those who adhere to that theory should want this evidence. And wait a second, we want the evidence because if you don't have that in court, what they have right now, they do not have enough to find him guilty.
And as everyone is speculating,
is this the gun that killed him? Where's the bullet? Where's the forensic report? I mean, maybe they have things that they haven't released to the public, but why did they not release it to the public?
Online and making such a huge problem.
And this is going to damage and this is going to taint the jury pool. That thing has been worked and reworked to shut people up too much. It's not working.
Behind that, and the case, all it would take is someone in a decision-making role to watch a few videos and hear what the internet's saying, and then if you have evidence that would put the big pieces to bed, put it out, dude. It's not going to make it not exist once you're in court. Like if you have a video of him taking the shot, how would that possibly negatively impact your case to show that to us? How? Explain it to me. The defense is going to have access to the video before trial anyway. It's as simple as this. Like, you want us to stop talking about who did this, who did that. Show us a video of Tyler Robinson with a gun. Show us a video of Tyler Robinson shooting it from the rooftop.
Yeah.
There's no excuse for not showing that if you have it. Anyway, okay, so let's move over to this story really quick, and then I want to come back to Canada. So this is the report that I alluded to, right? The plan all along. Erica Kirk rumored to have lost custody after viral Congresswoman claim. So someone sent that to me actually a couple days ago, and the clip itself of Paulina Annaluna, whatever, Paulina Annaluna, and let me just read this. Actually, you know what? Should I give some I'm going to do it, dude. This is Project Constitution. Okay, so this dude has given me a tremendous amount of visibility on X, so I'm going to pay back the favor in reverse because he is covering this story. I'm going to let him do that a little bit, and then I'll tell you what I think about it.
And this is all proof that we have been wanting for a long time, and now we got it. This article says, Erica Kirk reportedly reported to CPS for child neglect. Charlie's parents say, we told you so. And by the way, I also can confirm this part. Charlie's parents do not like Erica, and to my knowledge, they have not, they haven't liked Erica from the start, and they are very weary of her. Anyway, so it goes on. Erica Kirk.
It's like, it sounds like Anna Paulina Luna said she lost her kids also on the PBD. From what I can find, it sounds like Anna Paulina Luna said she lost her kids also on the PBD podcast, because that's where it came from, right? Is Anna Paulina Luna said on the Patrick Bet David podcast right here that she lost her kids, and then this is where this all came from. So
but I do think that when
be exactly what is said. Tyler Robinson could have, I mean, no one's gonna convince me that Tyler Robinson did it by himself, and I have information I'm gonna share with you guys sometime soon that will bolster that, but that he didn't do it by himself. But let's just say it was like a group of leftists, right? Like it was Tyler Robinson and his group of little trans friends or whatever. If that's what really happened, and then you actually think about the fact that all of us right now are doing content that is critical of Charlie's wife because it's like blowing up our channels. I mean, literally, look at this, dude. This is the last 7 days. Okay, the last 7 days, and these views, these are not all my views. This is filtered for only brand new viewers who had never seen my content before. So in the last 7 days, I got 426,900 views from brand new viewers, which are the most valuable because that's how you grow and expand. And check this out, dude. Just look at the top 5 videos. Okay, this one, Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk life insurance, 154,000 new people saw it. This one, new Erica Kirk story knocked me out of my seat. 61 or almost 62,000 new people saw that one. Erica Kirk's dating history, assholes. The Erica Kirk Cabot Phillips situation.
new shocking TVUSA audit. Okay, so like it is very clear that there is a force behind this that is trying to get us to do this. And if it really was the trannies that did this, and what we are now doing is attacking Charlie's widow, and Charlie's dead, like you have to entertain that this is that absolutely could be what happened. Like seriously think about that. I know she's a pageant girl, dude. She's a pageant girl, and that is the part that I think people are forgetting. Because look, if you look here, I mean, not necessarily forgetting, but like this is something that people should be thinking about as a possibility, which is you don't know her. None of us do. Well, some people do, but we don't, right? The person that I see in this picture is like a regular American girl. Like that I see in this picture is like a regular American girl. And when she's doing the show, like we talked about, that is a pageant girl. She's Miss Arizona. They do beauty pageants, or the beauty queens. Like, do you think that they're presenting their natural self? You know what I mean? Like go to a beauty, like try to become a Miss Arizona, and like they'll go up there and they're just like, hey man, let me tell you some jokes about my life, and look at these titties. All these dudes be trying to get up on me because I got these babies out all the time. Let me tell you about it. It's like, I don't know why they have to either be stand-up comics or like the Victoria's Secret models are walking by and they're like 5'10", 5'11", whatever, and she's like literally 3'1". She's so small, it's hilarious, dude. But Taylor Swift absolutely murdered that show. That's the one where she played. Okay, because I can shed some light on this one also.
What the hell is going on here?
I'm sorry. Let me just at least give you the overview, which is Charlie Kirk's Life Insurance LLC tied to North Korean weapons laundering shells. Same address, same agents as FBI seized companies, and that is from Danks. Do I follow Danks? Okay, good. I was gonna say
this is what was really important about this.
Am I not following Danks? All right, so let's listen to him talk about the connection between the North Korean like weapons laundering stuff and TVUSA, because I believe that those connections were established by Candace, and then he tied this to like the corporations and stuff.
Wyoming and North Korean weapons money laundering. The FBI seized 3 Wyoming companies for funding North Korean nuclear weapons. Now, Charlie Kirk's life insurance company was registered by the same firm at the very same address as those North Korean shell companies, and it's still the same today. Now, if you watch my last videos, you know about GGLF 2023 LLC, the Wyoming company, which $350,000 loan was given to through TPUSA. That's the life insurance, dissolved for $60 and then reinstated at midnight. But here's what I didn't tell you until now. In May of 2024, the FBI seized 3 Wyoming LLCs, only 3 actually, and it's these exact 3 for funding North Korean weapons destruction programs.
Wyoming company. Wyoming, I do believe we saw that Montana. Wyoming, I think, is Tim Mellon.
Nets and Blackish Tech. All 3 registered by Registered Agents Incorporated. All 3 at the same address of Charlie Kirk's LLC, 30 North Gold Street, Suite R, Sheridan, Wyoming. GGLF 2023 LLC, Charlie Kirk's Life Insurance, registered by Registered Agents Incorporated at 30 North Gold Street, Suite R, Sheridan, Wyoming, with the same agent, same address, same suite. The only registered agent publicly identified
Why Wyoming?
by the FBI as registering North Korean weapons funding shell companies is the same one that registered Charlie Kirk's life insurance policy. And it's still there right now today. They never moved it. In fact, they reinstated it with the same company. After the FBI headlines, after the assassination, after everything, the insurance company was dissolved for $60, reinstated at midnight, never moved from the address that FBI flagged for weapons funding for North Korea. Do you understand? Kim Jong-un is connected to this directly. I don't know what is going on. Either this is the worst governance in nonprofit history, or it's just not an accident.
Dude, fucking Danks got a future, man. He's got a fucking future, dude. He's getting good at this. He's getting good at this, dude. Now, in terms of this report, though, like, I mean, this is stupid and he's almost certainly wrong, but like, I'm just talking about him on camera. This is just the only, this is one of those ones where I can shed some very notable light on this, which is the following. The connection being that the address is the same of these companies that were, doing whatever in North Korea as the GGLF or whatever. Well, if the registered agent is, registeredagent.com, whatever it is, that's probably honestly just a website. And there are, I can't even imagine, there's probably thousands of corporations at that address, because that's the registered agent. And so you just do it. It's probably, it could be like the registered agent for LegalZoom or something. You know what I mean? Like something like that's, I don't know. That's where I create my corporations. I always do it through LegalZoom. So like, if someone's like, Jesse, did you realize that your corporate address is the same as where these people are selling sneakers to poor kids for twice the price? It's like, damn, that's one crazy scam. What? How did you think of that? It's very late and I'm really tired. But yeah, I mean, like, so I don't think the shared address means anything at all. Like, it's just probably, registered through some huge online vendor or whatever. But again, Danks' delivery on camera is getting very impressive. That was a big improvement. Look at this fucking guy, dude. He's got some charisma now, dude. Like, he's going to do it.
Identified by the FBI as registering North Korean weapons funding shell companies is the same one that registered Charlie Kirk's life insurance policy.
Let's go, dude. Very impressive. Very impressive tonality. Very impressive. Good job, dude. All right, that's what we got for today. Well, I mean, there's going to be another video that comes out later, but that's what we have for this morning.
Okay, so that was interesting.
I'm releasing it in the morning, but maybe you're watching it at night. You never know
what's going on
how this is
there.
going to shake out. So
that needs some more, questions asked. There's tons of things that why do they want all of these honeypots that don't ask any questions? Why have they want them as the American men's wives and mistress? I mean, this is Ariana Huffington was one. Trump's first wife, Ivana, was one as well. Look what that's produced with Ivanka. Nicole Shanahan, well, that little girl. I saw her on the ticket with Bobby Kennedy. I mean, God, what is going to become of this country? So yeah, listen to this, because this was taken, this is pretty much from this is the Eric and Kirk, they're talking about the Falkirk Center. I do need to speed this up.
Foster care comes up all the time.
Right.
Every single speech I give. What about children who are suffering? Isn't it better to abort? And I'm like, okay, I understand you're coming from a good place. You don't want people to suffer.
Right.
But I hate to break it to you, people will suffer. That's part of the human
life.
existence,
Yeah.
right? And there can be good that comes from suffering. But so who are you to say, like, just because you're going to suffer, therefore your life is unworthy of living? Like, you're going to suffer at some point in your life.
And how do you know that child will suffer?
Yeah, and
I mean,
how
we
do you know?
all
You're like assuming every single child. Yes, are there horrific stories?
Absolutely. Yeah.
But not every child. Like, I actually got an email today from someone who saw me on a TV show and was like, I just want to let you know I was raised in foster care. And it was, it was horrific. And she was telling me, she was like, but I'm so glad I'm here because my children wouldn't be here and my grandchildren wouldn't be here.
Wow.
So so those the two, your two, where you struggle. And foster care comes up.
I mean, you know, we know, I was sitting there horrified. And instead of addressing problems within the foster care system, within the adoptions, I mean, these are people who have been involved with, you know, the Romanian angels. Did she know about it? Well, don't tell me that after the fact she didn't find out about it and go, oh my God, what's going on here? No, I'm good. No, it could be just because she doesn't care about anything except her pocketbook. Or there could be something more demonic going on there. That her finger, the rings that she has on her finger, she says it's for her children's names. They're very tacky, and those kind of appeared after his death. There's just some questions about satanic things that are going on there that seem strange. The whole 30, you know, we caught Charlie in under 36 hours, precisely 33 hours. You know, there are some questions that need to be asked and answered there. So I don't want to play the whole thing of this thing because this was really but this is an interview. It's just I gotta finish this up within an hour. So if I have time, maybe I'll go back on that one. So anyway, let's get on to this one.
So what was the point of MK Ultra?
They were trying to figure out, can we really brainwash people? Can we create Manchurian candidates? Can we split people's personalities? It involved a lot of former Nazi scientists and involved a lot of LSD and dosing people with massive, massive doses of LSD. I have access to the documents that survived the destruction order, and it was called Super Spy. These women would lure these men back to the hotel and drug them with LSD. And we had like Project Stargate, like the Men Who Stare at Goats movie, and remote viewing and all this other stuff was going on. Then they started MK Ultra, which involved a lot of former Nazi scientists and involved a lot of LSD and dosing people with massive, massive doses of LSD and ruining a lot of people's lives in the process. But it was an attempt initially to find some kind of a truth serum. And actually the Navy participated in the biggest one, which was called Project Chatter, which is a sub-project of MK Ultra. And with this guy, he's a professor at, it's in Hamilton, New York. I can't remember the name of the Colgate University. His name's Dr. George Estabrooks. And he and J. Edgar Hoover are collaborating on a plan to use hypnosis to capture and hypnotize a German submarine captain and give him alter identities, and send him back to his fleet in Germany and have him torpedo the entire German fleet inside the harbor. And this was a legit plan. And I have access to the documents that survived the destruction order, and it was called Super Spy. And do you do show notes? Like the PDF in the comment or PDF in the description thing? Shit, I would have sent it to you so people can download it. But
we'll do it. We'll do it.
Okay.
Before I thought you meant everything. Yeah,
okay.
We'll do it.
Yeah, so I'll send it to you so people can actually look at these because they're not public record.
Thank you.
I went to this guy's house, talked to a family member. These were like old stuff that survived the CIA's destruction order of all of this stuff. But it got weird. I mean, these guys had lots of power. This was called the OSS, which, as you know pretty well back then, we've got this guy running the show. His name's Wild Bill Donovan. And his instructions to the lead guys in every unit was to make merry hell when it came to MK Ultra. And they did this one project called Project Midnight Climax. Have you heard of this? They took prostitutes in San Francisco, and these women would lure these men back to the hotel and drug them with LSD, like high-dose LSD. And on the other side of a two-way mirror, these scientists would be back there writing down God knows what, because that's all we really know about the whole program. But they're also experimenting with aerosol LSD. Like, can we disperse it into a crowd? Can we disperse it over a city? What does it do in water supplies? And it was just some insane stuff. But they discovered this way to create a Manchurian candidate. And this is a lot of where some of these ideas came from. And this guy, George Estabrooks, perfected this system to create a Manchurian candidate to where he could create an alter ego inside of an army officer. One of them was the normal.
Yeah, and Candace Owens, it's this uh, these programs that Candace Owens speculates that Brigitte Macron was a part of when she was a young man and came to the United States.
Officer, and they called him Jones A, and there was a Jones B. And we could send this guy through enemy lines, doing whatever. Jones A is a normal army officer. Jones B is carrying these vital classified secrets, radio frequencies, whatever it is. I made that last part, the frequency part. Who knows what he's carrying? So if Jones A gets captured, Jones B doesn't activate until he hears a very specific hypnotic phrase or hypnotic command under hypnosis. And they do that on the other side of the line. So they developed this stuff way back when. And one of the doctors working on this whole project was named Dr. Joylyn West, who may have been involved with the Sirhan situation and Bobby Kennedy, which is a whole other rabbit hole. But it looks like Sirhan to me. I'm 100% convinced that he was programmed to do that.
No shit.
It's not hard to do. I mean, look at the Milgram experiment. 40 minutes, kill a stranger, and they didn't use hypnosis. There was no cool sales tactic or script
Bobby Kennedy believes that, and that's what pretty much the evidence has shown.
that they had to follow. Everybody's concerned with what do I say? What are the exact words I need to say? It's can you trigger the fate model? Focus, emotion. Focus, authority.
If they did that with RFK's assassination, fast forward how many years are we?
Drive and emotion. And if you get that, you get compliance. And if you get that plus hypnosis, then you can create the Manchurian candidate. And it's not that hard to do. You don't need a bunch of advanced training to get that done. And I've studied that for a long time. So when I work with one-on-one clients who need a breakthrough or something like that, I'll use the exact same method to create an alter ego in a person that maybe doesn't eat 6 pounds of cheesecake every day. So you could take the exact same thing and put it in someone else that benefits them and acts as maybe a drill sergeant or a disciplinarian. And the reason that I started doing this or got interested in it, there are case studies and reports of people with dissociative identity disorder. So like 2 personalities or multiple personalities inside of a person, where one of them has a medically diagnosable condition and the other one does not.
Are you shitting me?
No, this is proven. Like one of them could be cortically blind, or one could have color blindness. One of them could have some kind of a diabetic condition. There are several conditions where these other personalities would have allergies, even skin allergies and rashes in response to cat hair. And just upon reading this, I'm thinking like, well, could I make someone with severe depression have an alter ego that doesn't have the depression? And we know that neurons that fire together wire together. So over the course of 6 months, if they keep doing this, can they kind of like rewire their brain if this alter keeps taking over? Of course, I didn't know. I played with it for a really long time. And man, our brains are fascinating and how fast they can change and adapt. And if you've got a good person working with you, you can get a lot done. But I think the only other way to really alter mental plasticity that fast would be psychedelics. This was like ketamine or a DMT or something like that.
So how would they do it with MK Ultra? Would it be they are in the middle of the journey, the psychedelic kicks in, and then is it a hypnosis? Because the way it's described is they're injecting thoughts, right?
Yeah. So it probably there was never a
As the Harpool, Brian Harpool interview was done by Sean Ryan, and everybody was like, "Oh, kit gloves, Sean Ryan, we see your loyalty is the military-industrial complex." Sean Ryan knows about this stuff. It's like, what do you guys do? Just interview and to make money. That's it. Nothing, no conclusions are made. Nothing is, like an accumulation of knowledge towards some action at the end of it. No, let's just whatever
recipe.
They pay me.
My estimation is that it was a microdose of LSD because, as you know, in psychedelics, language loses more and more meaning the more psychedelics you do. So I was thinking it was a microdose of LSD, massive amounts of hypnosis to where the person's hyper responsive to that person's voice. So like when I see clients, they listen to my MP3 audio thing that's hypnosis that just help them go to sleep every night. So by the time they show up and see me in person, their brain is hyper responsive to my voice, and it's a lot easier. And then during that process, in my estimation, they used real trauma, like oxygen deprivation or something like that, to create a traumatic brain response inside of the limbic system of our brain, which makes us dissociate. And during this process of dissociation is when they
Real trauma, also sexual abuse.
put that second dissociated person, or part of them, or I don't know the words to say, but they're dissociated. So while they're dissociated, they hypnotize them and then kind of create that alter ego. Tell them how they activate, tell them when they come up and what their personality is, what they like to do. You're here to protect the host. So like if I did this to you, Sean B's job would be to protect Sean A. Does that make sense?
I mean, kind of, a little bit. I mean, I don't understand how person B comes out though. You know what I mean? How is that determined?
Person B comes out through dissociation. So that's where we get the name dissociative identity disorder. So when a person is going through some kind of traumatic event, you'll talk to somebody, I think you had someone on your show who mentioned this, who goes through trauma and they just kind of like exit their body temporarily, or they exit this one globe of consciousness into this other piece. And when they shift over to this other piece, you can separately create this piece and give them an identity, give them a name. And if I can make something real in your head, then I can create it in reality for you. Which is why a lot of these cases of dissociative identity disorder were created by the psychiatrists in the 70s and 80s and the 90s. Because, and this is called iatrogenic dissociative identity disorder. So if you came to me, I keep using you as the example, but there's nobody else here. Sean, if you came to me and I was a psychiatrist and we were working together, you said, well, I have this thing going on in my life and it's X and Y and Z. And all I did was start talking about 2 different parts of you. And I said, it seems like there's a part of you that wants to eat the right thing, but there's also a part of you that wants to overeat. And you're like, yeah. And then I go into 5 or 6 other examples in your life. Is this like this in social situations? Is there a part of you that wants to hide and there's a part of you that wants to socialize? Yeah. So I go into all these parts. And then I said, you know what, I'd like you to take a questionnaire. And this questionnaire is maybe 17 questions. And a lot of these people made it up on the spot, these little questionnaires. And if I tell you that you scored high in dissociative identity, I'd say like this person, this other part of you has their own thoughts, their own behaviors, their own life. And I think a lot of your issues are from not addressing this other part of you that wants to do these other things. And they're probably here to keep you safe. So just really quick, just between you and I, if that other part of you had a name, what would you want to name that other part? And you say, Stephen. And I'm like, all right, so I'd like to talk to Stephen now. So within the course of one session, I have a conversation with Sean, I have a conversation with Stephen. And by the third or fourth session, you're fully living your life as if there are two people in your head. Because what happens there's a lot of novelty, focus, a lot of authority, because there's a guy in a lab coat or a guy in the psychology sweater vest holding the clipboard there, taking you through a lot of this stuff. The authority and your expectation is what sets the stage for this to become a reality. So you can accidentally get dissociative identity from a provider.
Wow.
And this is very well documented.
And so what was the point of MK Ultra?
Who knows? I don't know.
You don't know?
I think the initial aim was to figure out the perfect truth serum.
And how much has the Me Too movement and the lawyers and the psychologists working with these girls and grooming these girls for these cases been using this stuff? These girls have been groomed not only to be prostitutes from the sexual abuse that they suffered as a child, but also from the psychologists who, you're a victim, 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 you're a victim.
Which they thought LSD was some miracle for a truth serum. And they were testing sodium amytal, which is another drug that's pretty well known as a good truth serum. And they were trying to figure out, can we really brainwash people? Can we create Manchurian candidates? Can we split people's personalities? There was so much that it was just wild. It was the Wild West. So just looking at what they did, nobody would ever be able to know what the ultimate aim was.
So how would they get personality B to trigger on demand? If they were going to have a Manchurian candidate or an assassin or any bad actors. I mean, how would they trigger personality B to carry out whatever the mission is?
It's pretty simple. A lot of repetition. So like if I continually deprive you of oxygen, and then afterwards every time you dissociate, I'm saying, now I'm talking to Sean B. And what's your number one goal? You want to protect Sean A, right? The number one way to do that is to go do this one thing in this place. That's the way to protect. Is that your goal? Is that what you want to do? Good. And every time you come out, I might set up some kind of a trigger. And once you hear these words, then you have permission to come out and do exactly what you want to do.
No matter where you're watching Sean Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can.
See, Candace Owens is not some crazy wacko who's coming up with all of these crazy stories. I mean, I was like, I couldn't believe Riley Gaines last night. So here, I do want to play this. Okay, let's get through this. So this is
Grace wrote it under her pseudonym. I may be wrong about that. I'll have to pray about it. The Lord will bring it back. Sorry. Just my brain.
This was, I want her at about 40.
Watch. I do believe Charlie Kirk was assassinated in a ritualistic blood ritual. Okay. Just keep listening. I know, guys, it's a lot. Just keep listening.
Who ran the Turning Point in the UK? Questions no one wants answered. Erica, so Charlie's wife, Erica Kirk, has now been announced as CEO and chair of TP USA. She controls the children around America. Was I right all along? Is the ritual death of Charlie Kirk's public image a slingshot for his handler wife Erica? Is this her rite of passage? The blood price paid to step into her role is starting to look undeniable. Charlie Kirk launched Turning Point UK at the Royal Automobile Club, tied to Prince Michael of Kent, Grand Master of Freemasonry. George Farmer, now husband of Candace Owens, is the chairman currently. His connections ran through Andrew Tate before he ever met Candace. Tate's
Candace Owens' husband did start TP UK, but I don't think he's associated. To my knowledge, I don't really know. It's kind of, I know her husband runs her company, but if he's involved, I don't know.
Angels, if you haven't heard of them, isn't a meme, it's a pipeline.
Isn't a meme.
And then there's Erica's Romanian Angels. She named them that. Romanian Angels, right here. Ministry presents as an orphan charity backed by the U.S. government, accused by locals of trafficking children out of Romania, the UK, Israel, and South America, along with islands. Pattern repeat, names overlap, angel brandings, coincidence. This is getting crazy. If y'all remember, and we'll go to this right now, Cash Patel didn't say, rest in peace, Charlie. Malaha, Beauty, Queens, and Erica Kurtz. He said, not see you in heaven, but see you in Valhalla. It's not a urology. It's not a witness protection speak from the opium junkies. It's ritual language. And if you think it's just a cute Norris Swedish flourish, remember Erica Franzev, Kirk's grandfather, was Grand Chief of the Independent Order of Vikings, the fallen ones, knighted by the Knight of Sweden. Valhalla isn't a metaphor for this family. It's their lineage. Now, add the other pieces. Erica herself, boy, she's getting propped, called the most powerful woman in America. Do y'all think that she might become vice president or be nominated as vice president with Vance? I do. Yes, put the pieces together. She's getting propped up, called the most powerful woman in America. Let's see what else. Trump pageant girl, casting director for Trump, put in Kirk's orbit only as Charlie cozied up with Trump. Owner of philanthropy ministry that did work in Romania and reads like a Clinton Foundation kid farm startup. Handler vibes all over her. Romania Angels, Constania, Romania Orphan Project. Obviously, guys, here's the architecture. Trump's mentor, Roy Cohen, literally built the CIA sex kit and blackmail machine. Trump owned hotels and beauty pageants, the perfect farm system for leverage. Epstein was an anomaly, just a plug-in.
Let me stop right here. I did a video. I don't know if you guys have gone back and looked at any of my other work, but I did a video. One of the reasons that I had said from the beginning that I believed that it was somebody on the right that orchestrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The more they try to tell me that it's trans ideology and liberal left, the less I'm going to believe it. I don't like being told what to think. I do not. I like to pattern recognize. I like truth. And truth is usually very simple, right? God's truth is very simple. Human sin. Sin separates us from God. How do you correct that? You ask Jesus to forgive you, live in your heart, cover you with the blood. Voila, done. Simple. The more detailed you have to make it, I've got to kneel before a priest. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got to be ritually garmented. The more fake it is. Okay, that's humans that do that. My God is a God of order. He's a God of beauty. He's a God of restoration, prosperity, and life. Life to dead bones. Okay? Everything else is from the pits of hell. Can I get an amen? It's so deep. Charlie Kirk wanted the Epstein files released. I believe, being that he was being prepped to be J.D. Vance's vice president in 2028. He was going to Greenland. He'd been to Greenland in January 2025. He was going back to Israel, January 2026. Yes, fact check that. Don't listen to everybody. That is, a lot of people just throw things out there because they know that you don't have the time to fact check it. Then you just believe what you were told. He was going back in January 2026. People had tickets. They were super excited. He wanted the Epstein files. They could not give it to them. Give it to him. They couldn't give it to us because of what's fixing. All these evangelical churches will come tumbling down. Think about the evangelical churches in America being hit right now. If you look, just DuckDuckGo, Google, whatever search engine you want, eventually they're all going to read the same stupid articles. People are like, oh my God, she used Google. Her information's wrong. Like DuckDuckGo and Google take me to the exact same articles. It's how you research that matters, not necessarily what engine, because they all owned by the same company. That's like saying if I eat at McDonald's, I'm eating humans, but if I eat at Burger King, I'm not. Please. Little knowledge does not make you smart. You got to see the whole picture. All right. So my thing is this. I think a lot of things were added into the Epstein files by people that were handling and controlling Biden as he, diminished in his mental state of not being here. There's people slid information in there that was not real. I do believe they have to go through that. Me personally, the Holy Spirit has not given me any EBTB feelings about Trump. I do not think he ever messed with children or trafficked them. Do I think that he knew people that did? Yes. Yes, I do. Probably business deals, because these people are in the same circles. I told you that they're not like you and I. They're not like you and I. I woke up this morning, I had to make my own coffee. Right? I had to make my own coffee. I'm gonna have to wash my own dishes, and I have to budget because my husband has surgery. He won't be working for hopefully less than a month. But
It keeps on saying these people are not like you and I. See, it's the lower classes who make these, anybody who has money into God-like people. No, they're exactly like everybody else. And you take away their money, they'll be just like everybody other poor person. And every poor person give them money, they'll be just like every other rich person.
Could be up to 6 weeks that he is not allowed to work. He pays our bills. Why? Because YouTube doesn't pay me. And the people that donate, God bless you guys. Seriously. Like I have burst in tears the last couple of days because people have been so loving towards us. I couldn't do it without you, without God, because we don't have sick days left. This is the reality for Americans. We are not like these people. All right. I think because Charlie Kirk knew that some of these churches were going to be connected, that they had to take him out. It's so deep. It's got nothing. The Mossad didn't assassinate Charlie Kirk. The CIA, somebody in America, the shadow government did. And there's reasons for it. Though I do believe that is why you were seeing some of these big evangelical churches being taken down by the FBI and stuff, because Trump saw their names in the Epstein files, saw their nonprofits listed, and he did what he could do, which is send the government to destroy these organizations. That's where you're getting all these orphan projects overseas. Yes, it's all used to traffic children.
This is bad news. Then we have Kristen Ruby getting involved. Most credible source for Charlie is his wife, not Candace Owens. Well, maybe both of them. But they're not going to tell you the truth. This lady says, you mean Erica Lane Kirk and their friends Vey, whose grandfather was knighted by the King of Sweden and who was a member of the Independent Order of Vikings? And finally, Cash Patel rubs it in our face with not see you in heaven, but see you in Valhalla, referring to the mythological hall of the Vikings. slain warriors received by the god of Odin to feast and prepare for the final battle.
The
And
final battle.
Ragnarok is one of the actual Viking kings.
Folks, they had to power the darkness. Do I think Eric Kirk agrees to assassination of her husband? No. But I think that she knew that she had to be with him, and I think maybe she was falling in love. I do. He's a great guy. He was good to her. He loved her. She was probably falling in love. When she heard about the hexes put against her husband in the Jezebel magazine, she did become afraid. I think she knew right then it was coming. It was coming.
And giants, by the way, that I went over in my linealogy and blood linealogy, that actually goes back from every single one of our presidents, except for Van Braun, I believe. Only one of them, I think he's a bastard son of them, but he was the only one that didn't trace perfectly into William the Conqueror, then into Roland the Walker, because he was so big, he had to walk next to his troops, no horse could carry him, and then into the bigger, his ancestors, the bigger giants, all Vikings, all from Norse. Asgard, you all know what all this is. It's located in Asgard, the realm of the gods. These are the fallen ones.
This is the fallen ones. Enoch breaks this in. Now, this gets deeper with the symbology. Erica, like Candace Owens, is not organic. Okay, I built my YouTube channel. I didn't even have teeth because I had massive major facial surgery. I didn't have teeth. It took years to get teeth in my mouth.
I did want to just, that does bring another variable into the mix, because of course with the German Nazis, they did have the Aryan race, and try and make the Aryan race the blonde, blue-eyed. So is that the same as the Vikings with Valhalla? Because that is the German, I'm trying to think of my, history of that, of Northern Europe at the time, which is kind of, during the Roman and pre-Roman era. So I'm not positive if that would have been the Viking, but I do believe that that's the Germanic, because you have the Franks, but I think the Franks are different. So anyway, it is all of those different groups, and this does go back generations and generations and generations, and these families, all of the families have been involved, whether they be Christian or Jewish. And oh my Lord, how many Jewish families? This is like Sigard, Marianne Sigard, and Anne Sinclair, Ralph Lauren. I mean, the Jews, stop just gentrifying your names and think that we just move on. So here, this is the remote viewing with Elizabeth April. I always find this
that if she were to take the time to investigate and expose, do that instead. Because, and I think I actually put it on my...
Okay, let's see. Charlie Kirk situation.
Sometimes the location, the place, the scene that pops up, it could be in the past. A lot of the time it is in the past because I'm looking at a past event. And then I gather information through...
Okay, facts about Charlie Kirk.
Okay, so let's just talk really quickly about the facts of what this whole Charlie Kirk situation is. I did a Charlie Kirk video part 1, which exposed a lot as well. We're not going to go, we're going to go even deeper in this one. But yeah, just a couple of sort of reiterations. These are the facts that are out there. Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 10th, 2025. He was a political figure. His wife, Erica Kirk, is taking over a leadership position in the organization Turning Point USA. That's the organization that Charlie Kirk was running. And then they have the suspected assassin in custody. Okay. Those are the facts, all right? That's it. Let's talk about what I remote viewed last time. Let's just go ahead and recap what I saw last time because it's going to kind of bring you up to speed, and then we're going to deep dive into the updates, which are, once again, pretty wild. Okay, so what I remote viewed last time. This was a targeted attempt, well, it's not even an attempt, it was a targeted assassination by the shadow government. The suspected assassin that they have in custody right now was just a pawn. That is not the guy who killed Charlie Kirk at all. They used MK Ultra techniques, which is basically brainwashing, mind control. Sometimes they use substances to do so in order to get this pawn, this assassin, okay, to do their bidding, the shadow government. So why? Why did they do this? Why did they take out Charlie Kirk? His influence was getting big, and he basically wasn't controllable anymore. We're going to talk about the control factor as well. Now, in the first remote view, same thing. I was pretty surprised that his spirit came through and had a lot of messages to share. The biggest message that he had to share in the first remote view, in the first video of Charlie Kirk, was that he really wanted people to unite after his death, not divide. He also wished that he did more, and of course, there was a lot of hurt and a lot of pain around his family, the loss of his family. Okay, if you want to see that whole video, go check it out. It's on YouTube and my website. Now, here are the updates.
See, this is something that was strange, that from that video, he thought this would unite everybody, And Elizabeth April also was like, you thought it would, like, did you know that this was going to happen? She found it very strange. I find it very strange. This is remote viewing. I mean, as she says, this is not exact science.
It's like, it's just keep an open mind. That's all I'm going to say, because it's weird, okay? And it's like, this is my world, and I've seen some pretty crazy stuff, and yet I'm still a skeptic, and I'm still hard-pressed to fully accept certain situations. This is what I saw. This is who I communicated with, take it or leave it. When I dropped into the remote view and I wanted to gather information around specifically Erica Kirk and Candace Owens, Charlie came through. Once again, I did not want to talk to him or was looking to talk to him, but he came through. And to my shock, Erica Kirk was there with him. I know, take it or leave it. But I was very confused because we understand Charlie Kirk is on the other side. His spirit has crossed over, he's in that place, whatever you want to call it, heaven or whatever. He's in that place. And right beside him was his wife, Erica Kirk. And so, of course, my first question was, what are you doing here? I'm pretty sure you're currently running a book tour or whatever. Why are you here? And so, because of what I've seen before, I was wondering, did they, there could be many different things as to why she was on the other side. Obviously, my first thought was, did they have a clone of you? Do they have a body double? Like, did they replace you, essentially? Because apparently they do that a lot these days, and I have videos on clones if you're interested in that. So that was kind of my first thinking, but that's actually not what happened. And I don't know exactly why they didn't replace her with a clone. Sometimes it takes quite a while to, like, initiate a clone body. I know it's weird, but it's kind of like uploading a whole new, like, you're programming a whole new person in a different body. Anyway, I'm not sure if they just didn't have a clone of Erica Kirk. I don't know what happened there, but essentially it was more of like a possession or a body snatching, like I call it body snatching, but like essentially what happened was there was another entity that took over her original body, which is what they used to do a lot in the past, especially when it comes down to shadow government groups or the Illuminati, whatever you want to call them. One of their, I didn't really get immediately that it was like a reptilian that took over her or just like an entity, whatever it is. It's obviously dark and gross and shadowy, but it actually took over her real body. And in doing so, it kicked her soul out of her real body. And now she's on the other side. Like the real Erica Kirk is on the other side. And I will say, just because I do get impressions from spirits on the other side, she seemed like a truly caring, loving, like honest, authentic person. And I don't know her work. I don't know who she is. But as a spirit from that side, it felt like she was actually a really good match for Charlie, because he felt like same thing, a very compassionate, very like just very much so about his mission, but also those two together and their family was something else. And that was real. Whoever is in her body right now, that's not her. That is not her. And that kind of takeover or that body snatching happened quite quickly after. And we're going to talk about the process of how that happened, because I had to ask them questions. I was just curious. I was just very curious. We're going to talk about how that happened, but I guess that happened quite soon after he was assassinated and taken out. The first thing, when I saw them on the other side, Charlie I've already talked to, but Erica, the main thing that was her concern, like she was in a panic, like she was quite frantic on the other side. And her biggest number one concern was her children, is her children. And as a, I'm not going to cry. As a mother myself, to be in that position where like essentially like who's taking care of her children if that's not her in that body, right? And so they are very concerned about the well-being of their children. And I think their number one biggest concern is, are their children going to be used as pawns, So she was unbelievably concerned, for good reason, about the well-being and the caretaking of her children, because she's not here anymore. Oh, okay. So my first question, well, I guess after that information came through, is because I was just curious. And I really posed this question to Charlie first, and then I went over to Erica after. And my question was, did you sign up for this? Because yes, I understand shadow government. Yes, I understand Illuminati. Yes, I understand the powers that were, that still are a little bit. But like there's free will as well. So I had to get their perspective on, this is really fucked up, but did you sign up for this? And so yes, he actually gave me the visual, the clip, the memory of what happened at that time. And so I won't give you all the details or all the imagery that came through. I'll give you a couple of clips though. So he said yes, he did sign a contract, but he was unaware of what he was signing at the time. He said that it was in or around 2012, which was a really big turning point for his career. And essentially he was approached by, I don't know if it was like another politician or if it was like a leader that he revered, and this sort of older leader took him under his wing and said, I think you've got the stuff, kid. I think you've got what it's going to take. Join me. And in order to do so, you've got to sign these documents. Now, as a politician or a budding politician, you're signing your name on a lot of documents all the time. And so he said, yes, there was a moment where I signed documents to be a part of something, and I had no idea what I was getting involved in. So it's like there was consent, but it was not conscious consent, if you could say. I've also seen a very similar dynamic in the music industry as well, is that they sign these contracts, which is very normal for musicians, especially budding musicians who want to make it. They don't understand the extent of what they're signing, and unfortunately, that it doesn't give away your free will because you can't, but it sort of obligates them and hooks them into this organization. So that's what he said. He said it was 2012 where he signed a contract, and in his mind, he said that he really felt like it was going to be for the betterment of humanity. Those are the words that I wrote down here. He said he felt like it was going to be for the betterment of humanity, and I see him in this room with this other gentleman signing these paperworks. I don't know. So then I had to ask him, at the end, right? So you were not aware of this at the beginning, and you were young, and your career was just getting started, and you had high hopes for you were going to change the world. So I said, at the end of your career, were you aware of active engagement with said shadow government? Were you aware that you were not a pawn, but kind of playing their game? And here's what he said. So the last 3 years, there was an organization or a group, okay? He didn't go into what group or organization that was. Once again, let's just call it the shadow government, because no matter what country, no matter what religion, no matter what culture, no matter what language, the shadow government, this government behind the scenes, right? They rule everything. Like countries do not matter when we're talking about the shadow government. So he said the last 3 years, this group was pushing their narrative, okay? They were pushing this narrative on him that they wanted him to comply to, and then they wanted him to essentially push that narrative out. He said that of the content that he produced, like 80 to 90% was him, and he felt good about that, but 10 to 20% was this other narrative coming through. And just personally, it's a side note, but when we think about, say, pawns in politics or celebrities or musicians or what, like influential figures, like I kind of always assume, yep, if they've joined the Illuminati, if they've signed those contracts, if they're doing the rituals, then they're all in. I kind of just assume that they are completely a 100% pawn. You kind of don't think about the fact that they also do have their own voice. And it was just fascinating to talk to Charlie for him to be like, they did allow me to have my own voice. Like I was like 80 to 90% free to be me, but there was that other part. And so it almost opens up this lens and this perspective for us, okay, as observers of this reality, to ask ourselves, what percentage of this person, I don't want to say what percentage of this person is authentic and what percentage is taken over, or what percentage of this person is authentic versus what percentage of this person is a pawn. It's just, before I'd be like, yeah, oh, for sure, Illuminati. And I just assume that all music, all interviews, all everything is dictated by that. Talking to Charlie, I realized that there are actually quite a few figures who kind of have their own voice in a sense, but they still have this obligation. Anyway, sorry, that was a little bit of a rant. It really kind of opened something up in me. Anyway, so then I had to ask him, have you ever done rituals? Because when I take a look at musicians and I take a look at other huge political figureheads, there are we're talking really disturbing rituals, okay, that go into what they have to do in order to be a part of this top secret shadow government group. I have many videos on these rituals if you want to get gross, okay? They're on my website, they're not on YouTube. So I asked him, I said, have you ever had to do rituals? Because he seemed a little naive. Like he seemed like, yeah, this group, who I was kind of obligated to was telling me what to say, but I still had some freedom. Like he just didn't seem very aware of what he was involved in, even at the end. And he said no. What did he say actually? I wrote it down. Hold on. Yeah, never looked like rituals. There was never rituals involved. There was never like blood sacrifice stuff. There was never your stereotypical shadow government Illuminati stuff, which is fascinating once again. Okay, then he went on to say, which is fascinating, he said whenever he complied to their wishes, he would get a boost in, what did he say? A boost in audience and a boost in funding. So every time he complied with that 10 to 20% of what they wanted, this group wanted, he would get a boost in audience and a boost in funding. And it was only really at the end where he kind of put two and two together and realized, oh, this probably isn't of my own doing, even though a lot of it was 80 to 90%, but there are some other forces that are essentially pushing me out to the world every time I comply with what it is that they want. He also mentioned that, this is fascinating, I never thought about it like this. He said many young political figures sign these contracts and they don't even realize what they sign. Okay? He said many young political figures sign contracts, they don't realize what they sign, and it's almost like 1 in 5 or 1 in 10 of these young political figures actually go on to do something or to be someone, and at that point in time is when the influence of these unseen forces step in a much bigger way and exert their influence in a much bigger way. Once again, it's fascinating. What I've seen in say, Justin Bieber or Britney Spears is that these young kids are signing contracts and they are groomed to be the thing, the person. This is changing my perspective on how they do things. In, I guess, politics, or at least in Charlie's world, they get a lot of young politicians to sign contracts early on, and then they only ever execute sort of the control dynamics in those contracts if that person really does grow to be promising. Fascinating. It's just interesting. As always, guys, take it. Okay. So he says, this goes deeper than I ever knew, and he had so much regret about that. And then he says, this is where he warns me, and it was a very stern warning, and he said, I don't recommend that you talk about this. Like, I'm like halfway through this remote view, and I'm obviously pulling interesting information that I think could really help open up people's world to what is happening. It's obviously opening up my world, and I do this for a living. And then he tells me, that I'm not safe in talking about this. And that he kind of assumed that he was safe until he wasn't. And he said that if there was one thing that he wishes he changed was to put his family and his safety first above the political agenda, because that's what got him at the end. And so I had to really tune into kind of myself and my own contracts and tune into, do I feel safe in relaying this information? And like I said, I did. I do in my contracts, and I'm hoping that most people just think I'm absolutely batshit crazy, and that's a little bit of a safety net for me. Okay.
I have to agree with her there. Like, the day that people really start listening to me and say, oh yeah, I got the names, and I got evidence against them, and let's go after them. I want to see them in court, and I want to see them in prison and stuff. Yeah, everybody, as I say, they just think, oh, batshit crazy. She'll never find a lawyer. She'll never find anybody to help her. Everybody sold their soul to the devil. We're all, fucked. We're all going down with the ship. And as I say, just batshit crazy. Yeah, well, unfortunately, it's like the only sane ones out there are the ones who are being called batshit crazy. Yeah, it's a scary, scary, scary world. Yeah, and then like Jesse on fire yesterday, he's like, well, yeah, don't think that I'm somebody of integrity. You tell me what I'm supposed to say, and I'll say it. And I'm like, excuse me. That's precisely the problem. You guys, big hee-ho men, military with all your muscles and all of your tattoos and stuff. Your biggest wimps is the nerds with their used to be the nerds back in the day in the 60s and 70s and 80s. The nerd was the guy with the pocket. He had a holder in his pocket for all of his pens so that they wouldn't, the ink wouldn't spill on his pockets. That was the nerd back then. Okay, so we went through all of that. So I do have a little bit of time. We can
resolve this problem.
Right.
Like in one, if every church wouldn't even have to adopt one child.
I
Like,
know. It's
and this is what we're
unbelievable.
called to. There was like
So
only like two of them
amazing.
that disagreed with me. So I actually, if I go on, I actually try to make somebody, at least one person disagree with me, even if it's a friendly audience.
Yeah, right. But
so it was
they're
great.
so amazing.
Oh,
The
yeah,
students are precious. And what I love the most about that university is, and even being a student there, is that they really teach you how to integrate the gospel into your calling and your convictions, so that when you do leave the campus, you are able to stand firm for what you believe in. So when you do go up against those debates and interactions, you can, like I said, stand firm. So Falkirk Center, we are a center that is made up of fellows, champions, ambassadors, to really answer the questions of today of
Are you gonna be
through a biblical
trainings?
lens.
Like, what are people, can they sign up to be like?
So they can sign up to be ambassadors,
Okay.
which is great. And as an ambassador, you're able to speak on behalf of the Christian worldview of what's going on politically. And also just if there's a cause on your heart or something, let's say, like pro-life movement, being able to support and defend that, and be just a center for students and Christians to go to read articles, to be able to have videos, access of like, what does the Bible say about XYZ? What does the Bible say about the Constitution? What does the Bible say? So it's just being able to...
Maybe like online education?
To some extent, we're going to be mostly just videos of just like, like quick videos, similar. But it's, we just really want to be ingrained in the churches, which I think is very important, because now more than ever, a lot of the churches are going the wrong direction, especially on the topic of abortion. I mean, I find it very contradictory to be able to have a church pastor support abortion. It blows my mind. But
I can't grace with a lot of people, people who work in the abortion industry. And I just realized you don't know what you're doing, or you don't know what you're advocating for. I have a really hard time being graceful to clergy who are on the reproductive religious council. I just,
It blows my mind.
I have a hard time being charitable to them in my mind.
We pray for them.
Yeah, thank you. You're
We
a
just
better
pray
Christian than I am, but yeah, I have a hard time with that.
I totally
I have the problem with the pro-lifers. Usually the pro-lifers, either they're involved in child trafficking and sex trafficking in some form or another, whether it be our socially acceptable ones of the debutante balls and the Miss America, and turning these young women into brain dead bimbos and commodities and pieces of meat, or the horrific that we saw in the Deep State 33 of these hunting parties of people in the forests and eating of children and just
understand. So at Falkirk, I feel so blessed and honored to be a fellow. I'm more of the, we all have our lanes. So I'm more of the entrepreneur, young women empowerment lane. But everyone, like I said, has their own perspective.
Yeah, everyone's Antonio.
Yeah, Second Amendment. Jocko Boyens deals a lot with fighting against sex trafficking. David Harris Jr. does a lot of stuff with the Trump campaign. And Jenna, of course, is on the Trump's legal counsel. So it's really cool, the dynamic and the differences between all of us and what we can bring to the table. So it's really fun. Hey guys, my name is Erica Franze.
David Harris Jr.
Josh Murray,
Antonia Okafor-Cover,
Charlie Kirk. And I want to introduce you to the Falkirk Center at Liberty University.
Liberty University has become one of America's largest, most influential institutions for higher education.
As one of the last hopes in American academia, our goal at the Falkirk Center is to equip courageous champions
that proclaim the truth of Jesus Christ and advance his kingdom and renew American freedom.
Join us as we bring together academia, culture, and civic engagement to create the support network for the revival of Christian American culture across the nation. We are the Falkirk Center.
We are champions for Christ.
See, I've always had a problem with all the religions, but the Americans, oh gosh, I mean, who is a worse cult? The Roman Catholic Church or the American evangelical cults? I mean, we've got so many different ones, but most of the ones that I know, it's all cult stuff. And that's,
hey everyone,
I've never been a part of a political party or part of any institutionalized religion for that reason.
Kristen, welcome to Explicitly Pro-Life and this new episode. I actually brought a new guest today, Erica Franze. She is a founder of Proclaim Ministry. She's based in New York City. She's a Falkirk Fellow at Liberty University, which is kind of a new center. Erica and I met years ago in Phoenix. I think it was like all 4 children ago. I think that's how long. I measure things by kids. Yeah, I met you between 2 and 3.
Right.
So we did we had a board member there who's a mutual friend who did a fundraiser at home, and then we had like a gala.
Right. I think it was 2012 maybe?
Oh, so maybe I had a kid. So
2011.
Okay, so I was maybe 1.5 kids maybe, and I was 1 pregnant. Yeah. So anyway, so it's been a while.
Right.
So I knew Erica was going to be here in Washington at the same time I am, and so she's very busy with her travel schedule. So we wanted to kind of introduce you to her. So Erica, can you tell us just a little bit about you and how you got to where you are in New York? You're from Arizona, you're in New York. What is the Proclaim and Lead Ministry?
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's so good to see you. I'm so proud of all that you're doing. I know that it is not an easy fight that we're up against, and I feel like you have really been called and chosen for this. So I commend you on all of your hard work in your organization because you're doing a phenomenal job.
The Holy Spirit. I'm just like the willing
you're the
body.
vessel.
Yeah,
right.
sure.
You're like the pincushion. Right. But no, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm grateful to be here. SparkNote's version of everything. Since we were together in Arizona, I had lived all over the world, traveled for my nonprofit. Lived in China, Puerto Rico, California, and then landed upon New York. And it was one of those things where I bought a one-way ticket and one suitcase and knew that that's where I needed to be. That's where God was calling me to be. And really just being a light in a dark place. And my whole goal for being there was just getting plugged into the community from a Christian standpoint, going to churches, being able to network with non-believers and bring them to church. Like, I know that sounds so simple, but my mom was like, what do you do for work? I'm like, I'll figure it out when I get there because I can, as long as I have Wi-Fi, I'm fine. But being in New York is one of those things where it really challenged my faith to be able to put it on the forefront, to be able to essentially proclaim and defend the gospel. So that's where Proclaim and Lead Ministries came from. Basically, I've had my nonprofit for 13 years. Internationally, we support and sustain several orphanages throughout Europe, but it's really, this has become a project of everyday heroes like you. So Proclaim and Lead Ministries, we've been challenging the millennial generation to be able to read the Bible cover to cover, which I think is very important because there's nothing more powerful than being able to know scripture and be able to use the word of God in a way to protect you and in a way to guide yourself through this spiritual warfare battle that we're in. So that's kind of the light SparkNotes version of
I think it says a lot about your personality that you're like, oh, New York's really dark and not very Christian. I think I should
You should go there, yeah.
And there's certain people who would say, no, absolutely not. Like, I'm staying as far away as I can from there. And you just rushed right in.
Yes, I did. Well, and there's some amazing people in that city. There really are. And yes, the politics are less to be desired, and there's some laws there, especially within the abortion world, that are absolutely disgusting and sinister. But there's little bright lights within that city. There really are. For instance, I remember this was probably about a year ago, just walking down the street. There was a Planned Parenthood right by my uncle's building, and walking past it, there was every single day, because when we go to lunch, we'd walk past this area. Every single day, there was a nun that was standing outside of Planned Parenthood saying a rosary.
Probably sister, her life.
So precious. And to me, like, that absolutely melted me because there might be so many people walking by that don't even pay attention to that because you could be crazy in New York and people think that you're just normal. but at the same time, seeing that, being a Christian and seeing her act of faith and her boldness, it really challenged me to be like, well, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing within New York City, within your own community, within your own company? What are you doing to stand up for your rights and the rights of others who can't speak for themselves? So
our like strongest student groups or leaders, people that we hire that were students and we worked with, and they make me feel
stand up for rights for others. You know, it's all this, whether it be the human rights people in the development community or the religious, you know, Christians, Muslims. I mean, everybody is just hiding behind some rhetoric to justify their their greed, their violence. You know, it's all connected. Okay, so yeah, I do need to get going. So that's going to be basically it for today. You do have the slides that you can go. It has all of the links to everything, which I encourage everybody to check into. This will be the 33. I'll put those all together because that, you know, it's all connected, gets into Erica Kirk, the trad wife. Here is all of the legal liabilities, because we keep on, you know, all of this information that I'm posting on the internet, I'm not doing it to be liked or to make money, to grow my audience. I couldn't care less. There are specific people, for example, all of the robber baron heiresses and all of these high wealth families who are spending all of their money, you know, have been injecting so much money into the humanities and helping the poor and educating foreigners, bring them in here with the affirmative action and charity work, and let's show what good upstanding Christians we are. In the meantime, you're exploiting people either in commercial or political arenas in order to amass these fortunes to then do your charity work. The development community, this is the whole Roman Catholic Church has been based on that. And this is really why you had the Protestant movement that rose up in the 14, 15, 16 centuries in Europe, and then came looking for religious freedom in the United States. History is repeating itself. And these are all of the legal issues and political issues that have been omnipresent throughout history, and we're just repeating it. So here we go again, back to the original slide, and that brings us to the end of the day, and I gotta get going. Okay, so do have a nice day. I'll see if I have time to get on again to do another one this afternoon, or we'll see, because the podcasters, I can barely keep up. Now I got to go with Riley Gaines. I need to really go over that in depth. So, okay. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.